whole platform going, and we should be up and running momentarily. Um, you can see what's on the monitor behind me. You already know what this is going to be about. So I think it's what everybody's talking about. But we got a couple other topics we're going to talk about too. But obviously, the files being released is going to be the big topic here. So give me a minute to get my last live stream going, and we should have a conversation going momentarily. Epstein files are out. Does it mean anything? No. Heavily redacted. Heavily redacted. I think that was predicted, but I'm going to ask a host of questions in regards to this. There's a couple other things that are making the news that I do want to talk about as well that I think are noteworthy. But give me a second here. Um, do you think that Trump is playing fair on this? I mean, because look, understand there's no reason why it has taken this damn long to get these files out. So talk about it from that standpoint. I got my opinions, you got yours, and that's why we're here to meet up and discuss this stuff. But what does it say that it is? What does it say to you that it is taking such a difficult road to get this stuff out? I mean, I don't know. Look, they had the files in their possession under the Biden administration too. They were sealed, but under the Trump administration, it's pretty clear there's been nothing short of resistance to get these files out. So, going to talk about that. And I think I got all my settings here ready. So, going to be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So, what up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Depending on who you ask, as you may be aware, the Epstein files have began to be released. This was the deadline today that the file they have till midnight tonight. So by 11:59 p.m. tonight, the Epstein files by law have to be released. So they're starting to release them now. The problem is the files are heavily redacted. People's faces are blanked out, wording is blanked out. There's a lot of information. There are just black stripes throughout the paperwork, heavily redacted files. And I think this was kind of predicted. And there's a million ways you can go with this. Look, the files are redacted to protect innocent girls' faces from being posted and plastered all over the media. So they're being redacted to protect the victims. President Trump and his administration, many are suggesting that they're redacting stuff to protect victims of adult victims. We're talking about grown, rich men that may have had some sort of an affiliation with Epstein, but did not commit any crimes. So it appears as if President Trump and his administration wants to protect those folks as well. So we're going to talk about it from all of that standpoint. Now I want to ask you folks, in regards to my notes, why do you think it's taking so long to get this shit? Trump's been president now almost a year, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of the Epstein list, the Epstein files, whatever you want to call it. Remember this time last year, we just knew for certain, now that we've gotten rid of Biden, and Trump is going to be inaugurated in a little bit less than a month. This time last year, Trump was due to be inaugurated in a little bit less than a month. We knew finally we were going to get to the bottom of this Epstein shit. Here we are a year later. We haven't gotten to the bottom of this Epstein shit. And it does not look like we're intending to get to the bottom of this Epstein shit. It just doesn't look like that's going to happen. But by the way, I want to say something real quick. Although all of the other pages are going, it looks like I'll see what happens because I just started this live, but it does look like the censorship is on. I mean, all of the viewer numbers on all of my platforms are significantly less than what they normally are. I'm not bragging and saying I run a great show or anything like that, but I know what the fucking numbers normally are once I've been on live for a few minutes or so, and it's way down. I've said the word Epstein probably 10 times already. I really believe it has something to do with it. I'm not going to change anything yet. I'm going to continue with the program, but I really believe the censorship is out when you mention the name Epstein. I'm really amazed at how low the numbers are for me talking about Epstein. But anyway, continuing on, and I see in the comments, handsome conservative, you says no censorship on Rumble. I don't know if I totally believe that because the purpose of let's say Elon Musk, he purchased Twitter, made it X, and opened it up to free speech. However, when you look at Twitter now, it just looks predominantly like a right wing site. So the point I'm making is I don't feel confident in suggesting that Rumble doesn't have censorship. I just think what we're dealing with under the Trump administration is we're trying to get rid of the biased liberal media and simply replace it with biased conservative media. I don't believe that President Trump is seeking to have a fair and unbiased media standpoint in this country. He's seeking to have media that's just simply more favorable to him. And obviously, Elon Musk is in with Trump. And so I believe are the folks that have taken over TikTok. And of course, Rumble leans right as well. So I don't believe you're gonna escape the censorship. It's just a different type of censorship. And I do believe the Trump administration, just like we've seen with Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, now you're hearing Trump is trying to push for his buddies to take control of CNN. They're just literally trying to do the same thing, just do it for the right. You don't hear Trump complaining about Fox News being biased or MSNBC or Betty or Newsmax or OAN. He's not complaining about those networks being biased. He's just complaining about liberal bias. So he's in favor of bias. He just wants it to be done from his own standpoint. So I want to ask, why do you think the Trump administration is keeping all this stuff secret? Because let's be clear, when it comes to the Epstein files, the only reason we don't have this stuff is because of President Trump. This literally is a case of let there be light. When Trump was inaugurated, if he stood up and said, let there be light on these files, we would have this stuff already. The only reason we don't have this stuff is Trump is blocking it. So why do you think he is trying to be so resistant? Because he stated today, his administration stated today that they are the most transparent administration in U.S. history. Is that what you are seeing now in regards to this Epstein stuff? And I mean, there's a bunch of questions to be asked on this. Obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell is also seeking to be released from federal custody. Whether or not that'll happen is up in the air, obviously. But President Trump, when asked, would he ever pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? His response was, I could do it, but I haven't thought about it. He never answered the question by saying no. Not once did he ever say no. And I'm looking in the comments real quick. What does that says? Roytland Elroy says, I am screen recording this cooked rubbish. Appreciate you being here, Elroy. I don't know. How about if I let some of the rubbish thaw out? Maybe it'll be a little bit better. I'll let it thaw out a little bit. So give me a little bit on the preparation of the rubbish. I'll see if we can make it fit. Okay, so I want to ask you folks, now that you all are probably, we're probably all on the same page that at least, and I'm talking all the way from the people who despise President Trump to the people who absolutely loves him and thinks he's the best president in history. We are probably all on the same page in agreeing that Trump has been resistant to letting everything about the Epstein case come to light. So I'm going to ask you guys a simple question. Does his handling of this change your opinion of him at all? I'm talking about people who love him and people who hate him. Does this change how you view President Trump at all? That he has been so resistant to letting this stuff come to light? Keep in mind, it's only been a few weeks ago that President Trump stated that the Epstein files was a Democrat hoax. Is there anyone, even on the right, far right, is there anyone that believes this whole Epstein case was something that was just fabricated by the Democrats? In other words, nothing here, nothing to see here, nothing happened. The Democrats just fabricated something out of thin air, a Democrat hoax. Is there anybody that actually believes that? Let me know in the comments. But continuing on, New York Times suggests that there are 1,200 Epstein survivors. God damn. He didn't do all of those girls. Obviously, there's a lot of other people that were 1,200, according to the New York Times. Take it with a grain of salt if you believe the New York Times is credible or not, depending on your politics. But if they say it's 1,200, it's not going to be 10. That means it's a lot of survivors. 1,200. Wow. That is insane. Most transparent administration in history. What say you? I would like to hear your opinion. Do you see President Trump's administration as indeed the most transparent in U.S. history? And we can obviously talk about it from the standpoint of the Epstein files. Have they been more transparent than anybody else would have been on it? Now, in addition to Epstein, we're going to get into that in detail. We're going to obviously get into that in detail. Stuff is still coming out. Like I said, it's all heavily redacted. So even with it coming out, there's only so much of this shit you're going to be able to get your hands on because they're releasing it with the highest level. I mean, they're releasing this shit like it's nuclear secrets. They're not giving you, they're not satisfying the people's curiosity whatsoever. But continuing on, there is another story that I think is, and by the way, there's a whole lot of things going on. I'm going to cover a couple of small stories, but here's one I think is quite interesting.
He approved a decision to provide 90 billion euros to Ukraine for the next 2 years. As a matter of urgency, we will provide a loan backed by the European Union budget.
After a night of wrangling, European Union leaders have agreed a 90 billion euro loan for Ukraine for the next 2 years. It's going to handle Ukraine's military and its financial needs at the same time. The original plan was to use Russian assets that are frozen in Europe as collateral for the loan. But that plan just unraveled. Belgium had too many objections. Every time the leaders tried to fix one thing.
Now, what I want to ask, obviously you hear them say they're not going to use frozen Russian assets, but has America lost its place in this? President Trump promising to end that war in 24 hours. Does it not sound as though maybe the European Union has pushed America aside and taken the lead in this after, I suppose, viewing President Trump as somewhat of a failure? President Trump has accomplished nothing when it comes to the Ukraine-Russian war. The war is still going on. The peace talks have failed over and over again. Trump has met with Zelensky several times. He's met with Vladimir Putin a couple times. Nothing has come out of any of that, despite President Trump's, now TikTok, once again, has censored the live. So I got to appeal it. We haven't even gotten into a single call yet. My monologue was enough for TikTok to censor the live. Obviously, it's Epstein related. So I'll go ahead and appeal it. But that's how easy it is to get removed from TikTok. They just gave me live access removed and I got to appeal it. Now they claim it's for misinformation. You guys have been hearing a lot. What the hell have I said that would make TikTok do that on misinformation? Wow. The amount of censorship coming out of TikTok is astounding. It is literally astounding. I just do not even understand it. But continue, we're going to go ahead and do this on the other platforms. That is astounding. I'm really surprised that TikTok would do that. The amount of censorship on TikTok is really, really insane. In the comments, Melissa K says you're lying. Melissa, let me know what the lie is. I'll go ahead and address your comment. You know, I don't block, ban, or censor. Let me know what the lie is. I'd be curious to know. But anyway, continuing on, we're talking about the Ukraine. Now, they've secured, I forgot how many billions of euros that they're going to receive, but keep in mind euros are almost like double the American dollar, so that's a heap of money that we're not involved in. We're not involved in this assistance to the Ukraine. Some might say that's good, some might say that's bad, but and Melissa, you says my whole platform is based on that. So in other words, you have no actual answer. Your whole platform is based on all that. That doesn't say anything. Give me a specific lie that we're talking about right now that would be worthy of banning the program. Your whole platform, that doesn't say anything. That gives me nothing to work on. That kind of makes it sound like you never really had an actual answer. And I'm giving you time to actually address your points, not running from you, not censoring you, letting you speak. You're not giving me anything. What is the actual lie? So anyway, continuing on. So the Ukraine has secured a loan from the European Union. So that's a host of European nations. And it's pretty clear their take on what's going on is totally different than America's take on it. Because, listen, Trump ran a campaign of we're going to stop sending money overseas. We're not going to help the Ukraine. Ukraine's corrupt. And the European Union obviously has a totally different opinion of that. So I want to ask you guys from the standpoint of, do you believe America is going to end up on the wrong side of the I don't want to say the wrong side of this conflict, because it's Ukraine versus Russia, and now America's kind of uninvolved at this point, other than Trump continuing to suggest that he's going to end the war and taking credit for ending 8 wars or whatever. But this Ukraine-Russian war, he's not taking credit for ending it because he did not end it. So it is what it is. But continuing on, yeah, Melissa, we're giving you time. You can type it in the comments. You can come on Instagram. I'll bring you up. The Handsome Liberal on Instagram. We're on Facebook, but the Handsome Liberal on Instagram. Type it in the comments. What is the lie? I'm still waiting on you, Melissa. You made a point. I'm giving you time to back it up. And if you're right, I'll concede it. But just simply typing your whole platform ain't really saying shit. But continuing on. Last but not least, this one I find maybe a tad bit humorous. I don't know how this is. And by the way, I am seeing the numbers differently even on YouTube and things like that. So it is, in my humble opinion, speaking in regards to the Epstein case, is causing censorship. It is causing censorship. I'm seeing it because we do lives most weeknights, as I say often. And I know generally how many people are watching the program. I'm obviously not the biggest platform on YouTube. I know that. I'm not like there's going to be 1 million people watching, but I do know what my numbers somewhat are. And they're significantly less because we're talking about Epstein. Significantly less. And as I stated, TikTok has already banned the platform in the middle of the monologue. In the middle, Boss Hog, it says no live on TikTok. No, we started talking about the Epstein list. Haven't even taken a single call yet. Just started framing what we're going to discuss on the Epstein list. And TikTok took it down, claiming misinformation. I hadn't even presented really any facts yet. I just simply presented while we're talking about it, asking questions. Why is the Trump administration resisting getting it out? And that was enough. So the Epstein conversation is obviously a topic of censorship on social media. Take it as you may. Take it as you may. And Melissa, you says Melissa, it seems to be, Melissa, that you have a very difficult time stating what a lie is. You're giving me everything, all of the most general answers. You said the program has a lie on it. Just simply say what was lied about. You said this, and that is not true. How hard is it to say that? You said Trump did this, and that's not true. Simple as that. You can easily type it. You've had plenty of time to correct what you said. There's just nothing there. You said we're telling lies. What is the actual lie? Even folks in the comment section are telling you that you don't have anything to back up your statement. But Melissa, I do appreciate you being here. I do appreciate you being here, even if you are a dissenting opinion, because we don't block, ban, or censor anybody's opinion. Are Democrats and liberals happy about drug prices and rescheduling? I am, Mr. Joker. If it happens, I am. But just like I mentioned earlier, with President Trump meeting with Putin and meeting with Zelensky and constantly telling us they've been very productive meetings, and here we are months later and the war is still going on, You gotta look. I know this is going to sound like I'm anti-Trump, as Melissa's pointing out. Sometimes I am, but I'm going to make it clear. You gotta kind of take with a grain of salt when Trump says something is about to happen, because he has a history of saying great things are going to happen and nothing has come out of it. Like I said, he's made it clear that all of his meetings with Ukraine and all of his meetings with Putin were very productive. Yet the war is still going on the way it was when he took office. So, what was productive out of it? So, when he says drug prices are going to go down and all this stuff, we need to see it, because he's already claimed that drug prices could be reduced between 4 and 600%, which is a mathematical impossibility. You can't give someone a 600% discount. If I give you an item completely for free, that is a 100% discount. How do you discount something 600%? So I would be absolutely happy if the price of drugs comes down, but look, call me a skeptic. I got to actually see it first. Like I said, he has a history of saying a bunch of really great things, and they don't culminate into reality. I mean, let's see what happens. All of these jobs that are going to come back to America due to the tariffs and things like that. If it happens, I'll be the first to give him credit. But I need to see it. I mean, the guy has a history of saying stuff that doesn't come true. And a lot of politicians do. I'm not going to say he's the only one, but a lot of politicians do. Looking in the comments, says if it's 25,000 and it's 2,500, what percent is that? That sounds like about 90% there, Melissa. If a drug costs $25,000 and you reduce it down to 2,500, effectively removing one of the zeros from it, you've cut it down to 1/10 of what it used to be. So my math in my head suggests that is a 90% discount, not 600, not 600%. I mean, I'm just telling you, there is math, and Trump went to the Wharton School of Finance. He should be excellent at this shit. Go ask Elon Musk. I guarantee Elon Musk wouldn't tell you nothing like that. I bet you Elon Musk's math is much better than that. So I don't know what made the man say 600%. That's crazy. Anyway, look at it. Yeah, I see in the comments, Nottingham said, yeah, it's 90%. Yeah, look, yeah, you took a zero. You took a zero off of it. So it's the most you can discount something is 100%. That means you gave it to them for free. So you can't give somebody a 600% discount. At that point, that means you're giving them the item for free, and you're now paying them multiples of what the item cost. So in other words, if your pills cost $10 and I gave you a 600% discount, that means I'm going to give you the pills for free, and I'm going to give you $60 when you come to the pharmacy to get them. That's never going to happen. So his math is crazy. Anyway, continuing on. So this one here, now I'm going to get a mixed blessing on this. I already kind of know how this is going to go, but I do have to read this I do have to cover this because this is part of the program. I'm trying to think if we're going to go over to the other TikTok platform and I guess we have to drop the Epstein conversation, which I really don't like censorship. But if TikTok, and I believe YouTube too, because I got less than 100 viewers on YouTube. I don't think that's ever happened on a show for at least a few years at this. We've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. Since I've been on YouTube, I don't think I've ever seen a show we're 20 minutes into the show. We have less than 100 viewers. I don't think I've ever seen that. So it is because my opening monologue for about 10 minutes was about Epstein. I really believe that they are censoring conversations on Epstein. So the only way I may be to do the live is to actually do it and take out the primary topic of the fucking show. That's crazy. And I'm talking about YouTube. My numbers are that low. TikTok has already banned it. TikTok already took down a whole platform for discussing Epstein. They already banned it. And YouTube is low as hell like that too. I'm tempted to go on X and see what happens there and see what happens on the other platforms. But it's pretty clear discussing Epstein is what I want to say. It's not a good thing in terms of social media. There's some banning going on. It's amazing because, like I said, the whole celebration of Trump and Elon was that they were going to, turn these platforms into places where you could go and speak freely. And my opinion, and I want to be wrong on this, but I don't think I am. But my opinion is they just took over the platforms and turned them into right wing censors. They're trying to get rid of all the left wing shit that censors Republicans and conservatives. And that's the whole reason why you always see me with the MAGA hat. Is because I want to let MAGA know that even though I have differences of opinion, you won't be censored here. That's why we always tell you this is a MAGA friendly program, because it doesn't matter what your politics are. Even if you're MAGA, you'll be allowed to speak. But I believe that that is what's going on, is that the right is slowly but surely getting their hands on media platforms and just doing the same thing they've complained about in reverse. Get rid of the mainstream media in the way they censor us and put our people in and do the same thing back to them. I mean, obviously, we all know, and I'm talking even to my beloved MAGA who champions Trump for doing this. We all know Trump operates on revenge. MAGA loves that. The Democrats complain about it. But everybody admits Trump will get you back. So if Trump could take over platforms and take revenge by doing the same thing to them back, I think it's safe to assume he would do it, and MAGA would celebrate it. MAGA would celebrate. Yeah, Melissa, tit for tat. Yeah. So, in other words, you're not against censorship. You just want it, you want people censored for your side. I don't see how that makes us any better as a country by censoring things in favor of the right versus censoring them in favor of the left. But that's what I believe President Trump is attempting to do. TikTok was supposed to go down. It was really supposed to go down at the end of the Biden administration. But anyway, Trump kept it up. You heard him talking about he was going to make a deal with the Chinese. He later said he did make a deal with the Chinese and save TikTok. And ever since that has happened, considering how many lives I do, how often I do them, I'm noticing that the censorship is now happening in favor of the right. So it just looks like he made a deal and had them on the backside of that deal agree that you're going to make sure I don't look that bad on this app from now on, right? And that's what it looks like is happening. Anyway, I want you guys to hear this because, like I said, this is kind of funny to some, but others might take it seriously.
Up and finding out the president just turned your normal 3-day Christmas into a 5-day paid holiday. That's exactly what just happened for millions of federal workers after President Donald Trump signed a surprise executive order declaring Christmas Eve and December 26th as federal holidays in 2025. In this video, what Trump actually ordered, how big this Christmas break really...
Okay, so, I mean, the point is simple. Trump has just added 2 federal holidays. He's made both Christmas Eve and December 26th federal holidays. So now you're going to get, so federal employees at least, I mean, if you work at a corporate place that, if your corporate business also gives you federal holidays off, you may get these as well. But December 24th, 25th, and 26th are now federal holidays. So you're talking Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the 26th in some countries is called Boxing Day. When I used to live in Australia, the 26th of December was called Boxing Day. And that was a holiday. That was also a holiday. But Christmas Eve was not. But he's made Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and 26th of December all holidays. Is that a good thing? My opinion, who the hell's going to argue with an additional holiday? I don't have any problem whatsoever with additional holidays being added. People getting the day off and getting paid for it. I would never interfere with that. It doesn't matter I don't care if he says today we're going to celebrate Cloud Day. It doesn't matter. A holiday, I want that shit all day long. But the reason I'm bringing that up with President Trump adding 2 additional federal holidays is because of a tweet he posted earlier this year. Here goes. Too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we're going to make America great again. That is what he took to Truth Social and posted on Juneteenth. was not very fond of that holiday. He did not even say so much as Happy Juneteenth. He took to social media and stated there are too many non-working holidays in this country and it's costing our country billions of dollars. Here it is less than 6 months later and he just created two new federal holidays after saying that on Juneteenth. Can somebody explain that? What the hell just happened? Why would he do that? So I'm baffled at that. I'm baffled at how you claim that there's too many working holidays and it's costing our country billions of dollars to keep businesses closed and all of that. And then less than 6 months later, you create two new holidays. Something does not look right about that. What made him change his tune? What made him go from we had too many holidays to creating two new ones? So looking at the comments, I really don't get a lot of attention. I don't really pay a lot of attention to Trump anymore. Well, even if you don't pay attention to him, he's doing things that will affect you regardless. So it doesn't. Clyde said that dementia, huh? So you think it was dementia to have a problem with holidays on Juneteenth, and then suddenly now he's creating new ones. Okay. He didn't change the tune, says Charlie. Then what happened, Charlie? Racism, of course, says great blackness. Well, something doesn't look right. Something does not look right for him to say we have too many holidays and then all of a sudden you creating two new ones. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Because of what happened with TikTok and to a degree what's happening with YouTube and things like that as well. This might be a short live because talking about the Epstein files is causing censorship. I'm 100% certain of it. I don't want to come across as a conspiracy theorist or whatever the hell some people are, but fact is I do enough of these and I pay attention to how many people are tuned in. And like I said, I don't have a problem admitting I'm not the biggest fucking platform on the internet, but I do know how many people on average watch the show when we're going live. And the numbers are way, way down. They're way, way down. The minute I started talking about Epstein, TikTok dropped down to like 20 viewers. You don't normally see that unless you're talking about shit like pedophilia and stuff like that. It just really, boom, you see the censorship. So and thank you, I think this says Gunner Experience. I appreciate that. Says you're big to us. So what I may have to end up doing is, he said short live because you are going to watch the Trump rally. I'll tune into it, Melissa. He is speaking tonight, is he not? But what I may end up doing is cutting this one short and then coming back on later on because, yeah, what it means censored and me not being able to take calls is going to really affect the quality of it. But if you want to ask some questions in the comments, I'll go ahead and take some of your questions because of what happened on TikTok. Before we do that though, I'm gonna get Sherbert on Instagram. Good evening, Sherbert, if it brings them up. But the censorship is crazy. After the rally, come back. Yeah, Melissa, I can do that. I may do that, Melissa. Sherbert, good evening.
How's it going, Tim?
Terrible, man. I got censored.
I saw that. You were barely on before they shut you down.
Yeah, I didn't even get through the monologue.
So, what's going on?
Well, what's going on is what I can't really get into, the Epstein files. I hadn't even, look, we got 3 topics. I hadn't even got into discussing the second topic. It was all Epstein.
I mean, it's pretty clear that this country does not want you to talk about certain things. And It's getting a little sad that the land of the free can barely talk about anything.
But I thought we got rid of these freedom-hating liberals and put in a conservative that was going to do things. Melissa K, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Melissa. I thought we had got rid of these freedom-hating liberals and we was going to get a little bit more of our freedom back under the Trump administration. What happened?
Well, anybody that thought that is probably pretty fucking stupid. As the man who has a hard time with the truth is then going to, worry about us being able to speak freely. Like, no, that's very clear that he doesn't want people to speak the truth. He just wants them to compliment himself.
Well, I know the man likes compliments, but out of his first term, he wasn't really favoring censorship. I'm seeing it now, but out of his first term, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, probably. I don't particularly remember him being this much of a little bitch back then.
What would make you suggest the president of the United States is quote unquote being a little bitch?
He's suing news agencies because he didn't like what they said. He tried to get Jimmy Kimmel fired because he didn't like what he said. It's very little bitch moves.
Yeah. I think there's somebody else I just heard he's trying to sue also. What is it, a BBC or something like that? I think the BBC is, he's suing. I mean, what's crazy is you cannot sue the president, I believe, while they're in office. You can't really get any motion on that. But you can't fire at him, but he can fire at you. That, to me, any lawsuit coming from the Oval Office probably should be at least suspended until he's out of the Oval Office so that the person can have a fair defense. You can't defend yourself against the guy who controls the Justice Department.
Not at all, but that's why Trump was very specific about that he needed absolute immunity. And then he got it for presidential acts, but he still treats it as if he can do anything and say anything. Oh. And most of MAGA will let him get away with it. I mean, I'm so tired of listening to MAGA just not even understand what reality is and just go, nuh-uh. I don't like that, so nuh-uh.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Vinny says that's not entirely true. He sued them because they lied. Well, that's the point that me and the caller are making, is that he can. Well, the caller is giving you the middle finger, but what the point I'm making is that Trump can sue you because you're lying, but you can't sue him when he tells lies. That's the point we're making, because obviously Trump has told plenty of lies on people as well. So it's the lawsuit ability of the president should be suspended until after he's out of the office, not in control of the Justice Department, and people can wage a proper defense against him. I mean, because he's lying about people too, and he's getting away with it.
Well, this guy down here, is that handsome conservative?
Yeah.
You may be tired of hearing it, but you have yet to actually demonstrate where we're wrong. You just go, nuh-uh, I don't believe you. And then we come up with court documents, Trump's actual words, video evidence of everything, and just, nuh-uh, couldn't have been him. He's a great man. I love him. Well, it's like, I don't give a shit who you love. What are the actual facts of the case? What has he said in the past? And none of that matters, ever. So, fuck off, handsome conservative. You're a piece of shit.
Well, he is a great man to the folks on the right, though. I mean, listen, he pardoned a lot of folks.
I don't see how, other than he lets criminals get away with shit. Like the guy from, actually, I don't remember which country it was, the kingpin that he just pardoned.
Yeah. You're talking about, I think his name was Juan Orlando Hernandez or something like that, of the Honduras.
Honduras, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, no, they can all fuck right off. None of it matters as long as you say yes to the God King. And I don't believe in God, and I don't believe in kings right now, so fuck all the way off.
Well, I mean, this is our president, but I don't like the fact that if you lie on him or do a hit job on him, he can sue you, but if he lies on you, ain't shit you can do about it. If he was never caught lying on people and things like that, like the Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs, they can't sue him. They cannot sue him for that, even though it caused them damage. They can't sue him, but if they did a media piece on him saying something like that about him, he can sue them. That needs to change. I mean, just in the name of fairness, that needs to change.
Well, one of the big things that comes to mind recently is the Haitians stealing from Social Security or whatever that was. When Rick Scott of Florida was, I believe, still has the title of the highest Medicaid scam in history. I believe he stole several $100 million from retirement homes in this Medicaid scheme. And no Republican seems to give half a fuck about it.
Yeah.
And I would say that would get him kicked out of office immediately. But if they don't give a shit about that, they don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, I think in some of these cases, it's looking for a reason to highlight people that you already are not fond of. Like, it don't take but for one Somali or one bad immigrant to do something wrong to demonize all of them. I mean, whereas like you're pointing out Rick Scott, I think there was this other chick that did a pharmaceutical scam. She kind of dressed like Steve Jobs. She was a blonde woman dressed in black all the time. She scammed people out of millions of dollars. You didn't hear him say, well, all people that look like her need to be out of the country. I mean, she was just a bad scam artist. But if she had been Somali, we would have demonized the whole Somali population. So
You're probably right about that one, but it really doesn't seem to matter with how the information landscape goes right now. People forget about everything immediately.
what is it going to be like post-Trump, though? I mean, because keep in mind, if Trump has been able to do this stuff, he's opened up the door for somebody in the future to be able to do stuff that is similar. I mean, do we prevent it from happening, or do we say this is the norm?
No, this is the new norm.
Really?
We can't go back after you give presidential immunity. And when they clearly don't care about illegal acts being normalized, it'll never go back to the way it was. Until there is a true reckoning for people that did very illegal things.
So, okay, you see what happened when, what is the guy who played Meathead, the director, passed away, and Trump says this stuff. The guy on All in the Family, the guy just died the other day. Got his child stabbed him in the way. Normalized. So all of a sudden people die and the future presidents get online and say all kinds of awful shit about them after they die. I mean, we want to normalize that.
I mean, it sure seems like they do. But then the hypocrisy just drives me so crazy when they got so butthurt about CK and all the people talking about him online. And then there's so much censorship about that right now.
Yeah.
But Trump can literally go disparage anyone, and it just doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, I gotta admit, and I see in the comments, Melissa says you said all kinds of shit about Charlie Kirk. I said, I don't know if you're talking about me or my caller.
I really didn't like Charlie Kirk. I'm allowed to say some shit.
I'm
not a political person. I'm not in office. I am just a blue collar person. I'm allowed to not like a political voice.
I'm kind of wondering.
Whatever.
I think she maybe. I don't know if she's talking about you or me, but I actually pointed out that I went at Charlie Kirk based on his quotes. I don't know anything about the dude, but I'm just going to say if I saw his quotes on paper, not knowing who the hell he is, I'm going to form opinions based on those quotes. His quotes does not come across as if he is inclusive or he loves the LGBT community or he has a whole bunch of black friends. I mean, you can read what he's saying. It gives you an opinion.
And you can't be that divisive and then everyone treat like a saint. But they clearly want to go by the smile. And, he talked to so many people. Yeah, he talked to teenagers on college campuses. He didn't talk to real people that knew how to debate and fact check on all of this horse shit. But he just would talk around it. And for some reason, everyone loved it.
Like I said, I don't mind if you have controversial opinions. Hell, I got some of them. I don't mind that, but
me too.
But own up to your shit. I mean, like this guy had controversial opinions about everybody from MLK to women. Own up, all of it, like you said, he's not an angel. Just own up to what you said. All of a sudden, he passes away, and suddenly all of his opinions are taken out of context. I don't know where they're coming from with that. To me, it was pretty easy to understand how he felt.
He was very religious, and I think that made a huge part of it, and I think that's also a huge part of why everyone defended him was because he was a godly man, and how dare you make fun of my God?
And that's also
God, so I don't really care.
And that's also why some folks like myself are leaning away from religion because, like, if this dude can say all this stuff and be deemed as a godly man, like shit, maybe this ain't for me. Yeah. You guys don't seem like you like me very much in this church. Maybe I'm going to excuse myself.
Always the people in the highest tiers of the church seem to be kind of the worst people. And of course there's outliers in individual places, but when you have a high level like Joel Osteen, man, I don't like any of those people.
A lot of people.
And there's definitely people that contribute like Mattress Mac, but other than that, fuck off, leave me alone. You don't get to tell me how to live my life.
A lot of people who love Joel Osteen there, I'm sure. A lot of people. My late mom used to love him.
People.
Huh?
I don't want to talk to any of those people. The same way if you're in love with Tucker Carlson, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. My mom was a big fan. She's passed away. She's passed on a few years now, but she was a big fan of Joel Osteen. But to me, what happened during that flood in Houston was the big reveal of that to me from that point on, because I thought Joel Osteen was a nice dude too, but when you started hearing that he prevented flood victims from getting into church because he didn't want them to mess it up inside, like, dude, that right there, yeah, that painted him in a terrible light.
Well, handsome conservative. Yeah, I can blame other people's beliefs for me falling away from religion. I tried to go to church for like 5-6 years, didn't find any truth in it, and that's my story. Like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm allowed to have my opinions on this the same way you are, and I hope you come up here and you defend your opinions on this. But why are you coming after me on this one? I don't really give a shit what you think.
Well, you're the speaker. That's why you're gonna get it like Mike Johnson. You're the speaker. I'll go ahead and move it on, Sherbert, but you're gonna get it because you're in the crosshairs, man. I appreciate you coming up, though.
I will tell you what I think. I'm not gonna hide away, but I also won't turn myself into a pretzel like MAGA reacts.
MAGA reacts as a passionate Trump supporter. Sometimes
no, he has no ideology. He just goes with the flow of whatever anyone says, as long as they have a big smile on their face.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that. Sherbert, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for coming through.
Have a good night, Tim.
You too. You too. Looking in the comments, says Donald Trump said it himself. Smart people don't like me. He's right about that. Only the dumb ones do. I disagree with that. Elon Musk likes Trump. Jeff Bezos likes Trump. Looks like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg like Trump. It's the middle group. I think a lot of poor people, which I guess some of them are uneducated too, but the wealthy portion of America loves Trump. So I don't know. I won't say it's all uneducated folks. But Karma refers to me as a cockeyed Trump cook. All right, I don't know what that means, but okay. Those people that don't like Trump, they just are using his power. I agree with that. I actually do agree with that. I think there's a lot of Republicans in Congress and in the Senate that do not like Trump, but riding his coattails can bring you wealth, fame, and fortune. So I believe that. I absolutely believe that if you put a liberal president in power and they did every single thing the same as President Trump, they would have a hell of a lot of Republican resistance. The way Trump is dealing with ICE, reducing crime in liberal city, all of that stuff. I think the Republican Party would go ape shit if a liberal was doing the exact same stuff. Obviously, Trump's social media account would drive the Republicans crazy. A liberal president going online saying the same type of stuff, I don't think they would like it. So yeah, I think there are plenty of Republicans that do not favor Trump, but they're going along with it because it means career advancement and things like that. One person I can say for certain I feel that way about is Dana Perino on Fox News. She said plenty of stuff that she is now defending from Trump. Dana Perino used to be the Carolyn Leavitt of the Bush administration. She used to be the spokesperson for George W. Bush, kind of like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Carolyn Leavitt is now. Looking in the comments, fuck political shit, yo said, okay, all right. Liberals want to do anything good for our country. They won't even do good for themselves. What is your definition of doing good for yourself? I don't understand where you're going with that. Unfortunately, for you folks that are watching, we're not taking as many callers because TikTok did not like us doing a monologue on the Epstein files that are being released. It's caused the numbers to drop. So if you're wondering when am I going to take callers, TikTok took us down, and we're going to watch the Trump speech later on tonight and probably come on after that. But I'm open for questions right now. If you ever want to ask a question on the show, politically related, you can certainly type that in. I'll respond to it. If you're kind enough to make a super chat, it'll change your question colors, and you'll get 100% guarantee I'll answer that, because super chats change the screen different colors. Everybody else's questions are just white lettering on the background, so they don't stand out as much. Good evening there, Angel Jackson. Appreciate you coming through. Angela, thank you. Good evening. Elon isn't smart. Shit. Well, let me be as dumb as Elon Musk. Fuck that. Shit. I want to be that dumb. I mean, look, at the end of the day, let me say it like this. Just like people say Trump is not smart. Whatever they are, they've been able, Trump came from a ton. Well, Elon came from money too. Elon came from money too. But Elon, I mean, propelling yourself to the richest person in the world is insane. Look, it's hard to do that without being smart, at least at something. So I have a hard time believing that Elon is not smart. Trump, I think Trump's claim to fame is he's learned to negotiate loopholes, operate from a standpoint of being a bully. Like he's utilized the courts very well. Do some work for me. I'm not going to pay you off. I know I got more time, more lawyers. You can only fight it so far in court before it costs you more to come after me than you're actually going to get from me. So you'll drop. I think Trump has been really good at exploiting loopholes in our system, which to some degree, that means you're smart. He learned how to exploit the legal system. That means it takes a certain amount of brains to do that. Now, hiring Michael Cohen, and I think he got a long way with Michael Cohen, using Michael Cohen as both a lawyer and an enforcer, really helped. Michael Cohen is probably responsible for Trump making a ton of money and avoiding a ton of lawsuits. And then, of course, he later threw Michael Cohen under the bus, but he has really enriched himself from loopholes, I believe, in Trump's case. Elon, he's invented new shit. Maybe he got his hands on the right scientists, the right inventors, and paid them off, but he's getting credit for it. I have a hard time saying Elon is not smart. If he's not smart, shit, goddamn it, who is? In the comments, Daniel Roberto says, bro, referring to me, bro is such a glazer for Trump. Explain what a glazer is, Roberto, I think that says. Robert or Roberto, I think it said. When will this economy that Trump promised, oh, this is going bad. When will this economy that Trump promised finally get better? Is it happening soon? I don't know if you're ever going to see that. I don't know if you're ever going to see that because I think that this is my opinion, and I invite you to let me know where I'm getting it wrong, but in my opinion, what Trump thinks is good for the economy is actually bad for the economy. That's my opinion. Hopefully I'm wrong and the economy, just blows up, but I don't believe tariffs are good for the economy. I don't. I believe tariffs are going to end up costing us more for the shit we buy. I don't think that isolating ourselves from everybody we trade with and treating them like shit is going to be good for the economy. I don't think treating people that frequently tour America and making it so they don't want to come here anymore is going to be good for the economy. I don't think what he is doing is good for the economy. So he does believe it's good for the economy. MAGA believes it's good for the economy. So I want a stronger economy for this country. So I hope I'm wrong. But that is my opinion, is that if he continues down this road, you're not going to see a good economy because I think he's going in the opposite direction of it. That's my opinion on that. Certainly with tourism and things like that. I mean, you got some major players that don't even come here no more. People are claiming that the tourism in Vegas is way the fuck down. I'll be there in a few weeks, but people are claiming that tourism in Vegas is way, way down. Where is my 600, 700% off discount money for prescriptions? Yeah, that type of shit is crazy. I don't know. You trying to get a job at the White House? You guys told me Uncle Ruckus got a live stream, says Arif. Let me just say this in regards to those kind of comments. Motherfuckers see a black guy, yours truly, see a black guy and they see a MAGA hat and they just automatically coon, Ruckus, sellout, Uncle Tom. Ain't heard the program. What if you listen to the program, you would know that doesn't. But I appreciate having you here, and your dissenting opinion is just as good as everybody else's. But that's not true. I've been watching you for a short minute. Appreciate that, Angela. Thank you. Appreciate it. Your name is all jumbled up, and I'm on it. I got a little small screen showing it, and I don't have on my spectacles, so my apologies for butchering it. I think I called you Angel first. I see it says Angela W. Jackson. You trying to get Googled, girl? Put your whole fucking name there with the initial. I hope that 93, 97 after your name don't mean something important too. You trying to get Googled doing that? Tim, you be trying to do a Pierce Morgan. Mm. I like Pierce. I'm not trying to do a Pierce Morgan though. I'm trying to give Trump credit on things I think he deserves credit though. What would your parents think of you wearing that MAGA hat? I don't know. I don't wear it, so I don't know. I don't know what the. No, let me just say it like this: if my mom or dad saw me wearing a MAGA hat, and they're both deceased, but if they were around and saw that, they wouldn't be happy. I'll just say it that way. I don't think my mom or dad would be Trump fans, but they both passed on before Trump. Well, my mom lived through Trump's first administration, but I don't think my dad was long gone before that. But I don't think either one of them would be Trump fans. I like Pierce Morgan says the handsome conservative. That's a compliment. I'm being told by one of my MAGA friends that there is an interview that Pierce Morgan did that I need to watch. He did an interview with Nick Fuentes. One of my MAGA friends told me that he didn't know a lot about Nick Fuentes, but after seeing Pierce interview him, it's made him really like Nick Fuentes. I'm like, really? So that's the only experience he's had with Nick Fuentes. So he doesn't know all about the Kanye stuff. And Nick Fuentes got interviewed by Tucker Carlson. That was his first experience with Nick Fuentes was watching Pierce Morgan interview him, and he's telling me that interview has made him really like Nick Fuentes. I'm like, wow, that's deep because even folks like Bill O'Reilly and all them are like, I would never have Nick Fuentes on my show. So I'm like, you need to you need to look into Nick Fuentes. Uh, two wheels or something says it's not a fucking football game. You mug. You're supposed to hold politicians to their word, not cheer them on like the Bears. That is true. I agree with you on that. I actually do agree with you on that. You should hold politicians to their word. And that's where Trump is getting the benefit of the doubt because MAGA's like, well, he was joking, or you're taking that out of context, or you didn't really expect that to happen. I mean, look, the guy said he was going to end the Ukraine-Russia war in 24 hours. Well, you really didn't expect him to do that. You should have known. No, he said it. Said he was going to lower prices on day one. Well, you should have known it's going to take some time. No, he said it. Nobody's making him say this stuff. He's volunteering that information. So I do agree with you. You should be able to take a politician at their word. If a politician lies, you should be able to hold said politician accountable. So you get no argument from me on that. And I say the same thing if it's a liberal politician as well. So I don't mince words there. I mean, if Obama says if you know with the Affordable Care Act, if you want your doctor, you can keep your doctor, and then it turns out that that's not true, you hold them accountable. I don't mince words on that. I don't give Obama or Biden or any of them a pass, but MAGA does give Trump a pass on that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. Go figure. Looking in the comments though, because we just can't. You guys were just taking questions here. Now that my TikTok live is down. Dems vote in Miami, no tears there. Yeah, Miami, the mayor of Miami went liberal for the first time in a long time, with 20 years. 20 years, they said. Making sure they are paying back through tariffs. This is why I keep saying I don't think the economy is going to be that strong. The tariffs are a hit job on us. We impose tariffs on other countries, and they respond with reciprocal tariffs on us. So we charge them more, they charge us more. Us means you and I. Us is not the US government, it's you and I. So for all of the tariffs that Trump is imposing on their products, they're responding by imposing tariffs on products that you and I buy. So Trump is bragging because of the tariffs. We're getting a whole bunch of more money from China or Brazil or whatever country tariffs are being imposed on. He's bragging about that. But what is not being said is that these countries are imposing reciprocal tariffs on the shit you and I buy to recoup the money that Trump is bragging that he's getting. So essentially, we are paying for the tariffs. People don't look at it like that, but the countries are not just letting Trump tariff them without reciprocating. They're retaliating and doing shit. And that's the stuff that you and I are having to swallow. So I don't think at the end of the day, the tariffs are going to be a huge benefit unless you ignore that type of stuff. I don't recall anyone crying about that stupid music room a president needed. I never heard anybody crying about the swimming pool. I really can't remember anyone mad about the ladies' room. What are you talking about? And if you know all of that stuff, somebody was crying about it. If you know all of the stuff you just mentioned, the music room, the swimming pool, and the ladies' room, if you know about that stuff, then somebody was crying about it. That's how you know about it. Somebody talked about it. So people were crying about it. So, you do know what import and export means, right? Yes, we are a massive net importer. We don't export enough to worry about. Yeah, you do export enough to worry about reciprocal tariffs because they're not just reciprocating on tariff. For instance, the soybean that the Chinese stopped buying. You telling me that didn't hurt American farmers at all? Do you not hear Trump talking about bailing out farmers? Yeah, what you're suggesting is we import so much shit and we export so little that we can do this to people and it's not going to hurt us at all. That's not true. Because in addition to tariffs, there are other ways that they can hurt you. And they're doing it. Like I mentioned, like I mentioned what the Chinese are doing to farmers and shit. They're making relationships with other countries and going around us. There's tons of ways they can hurt us back. Tourism is another way they're hurting us. They are hurting us back. This is what has happened under the Trump administration. Is, what do they say? You get too big for your britches. I think that's a saying where you get too big for your britches. Where we've taken on the mindset of we're the best on earth and we don't need any fucking body. They all need us. And these countries are looking at like, we're gonna show you that you do need us. We may not have full ability to retaliate, but we can do things here or there to make you feel it. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. They are doing things. So we need to get out of that mindset that it's America and no, what is it? God bless America and no one else or something like that, or America, fuck yeah. I mean, we need to get. This is a planet where we all work together. You can't just say fuck everybody and expect to thrive, which is what we're trying to do. You do know Canada has a 300% milk tariff in the States. Is that true? Damn. See, somebody said redneck idealism. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, and yeah, handsome conservative. The soybean hurt the farmers. It did. I mean, because a lot of I'll tell you another thing that hurt when we got rid of USAID. A lot of the stuff going through USAID was coming by way of the farmers. A lot of the rice and a lot of the crops that were going, we give you give, folks overseas that are starving, you send them grain or whatever you send them, the cheap shit you send them to eat over there. A lot of that stuff was going by way of USAID. So once we got rid of USAID, which was essentially just using federal money to buy that stuff from U.S. farmers to send the starving kids overseas, when we got rid of USAID, the kids didn't get nothing. But the farmers the stuff was coming from, that were receiving federal subsidies to send it, they lost that business. They lost that business. So farmers are hurting because USAID is not around anymore. They used to buy the shit they were sending to Africa or whatever country from my farm. Once they get rid of USAID, they're not buying this from my farm anymore. So now we're not getting that money. So there's plenty of areas where this stuff is hurt. I just think that this is why I say you need to watch a healthy amount of media from all sides of the aisle. Because if you're watching pro-Trump media, it just paints the terrorists as doing a stellar job. All of the shit we talking about, they don't mention this stuff. They don't mention this stuff. All of the news from the terrorists is not good news. You're not going to see a whole bunch of farmers complaining about losing their family farm or being at risk for losing their family farm for the first time in generations. That's not going to make Fox. That's not going to be talked about on OAN. And if that's what you watch because you think CNN or MSNBC or MS Now, I think it's called, if you think those networks are too biased for you to watch, then you're missing some of the news. Because the network you're watching is also biased. They just happen to be biased in your favor. They're not telling you everything either. Because it's not news, it's entertainment. Yeah, but you do get some facts. You just got to watch a healthy amount from both sides. Don't just watch all right or all left. Because both sides is only telling you what they believe is making their side look more productive. You gotta watch. I mean, look, good accomplishments by Trump is not going to be covered on MS Now. They're not going to tell you things that Trump may be doing that's good for America, and things that Trump may do that's bad. Fox is not going to cover that. Why shouldn't other countries pay their fair share? Because America is not only a superpower, but we play the world's police. If you're going to have ships patrolling off of my coasts, you want our country to operate a certain way and shit like that, but you don't want me telling you how your country should operate. How do you look telling me to come to the table and pay my fair share like you? You're not playing fair share on the world stage when it comes to control and power. Okay, we'll turn a blind eye to you doing some shit that might be above and beyond what is considered international law and things like. But when it's time to pay, give us a discount. If all of a sudden you don't want to do anything for us, then we're gonna have a problem letting you just be the world's police and get involved in every damn thing. You got bases in my country. I don't have shit in yours. We don't really need you here. Nobody's really trying to mess with us. You want those bases so that you're closer to your adversaries and enemies. So you got a forward base here. We'll let you do that. But when it's time to dole out a few bucks here or there, give us a discount. Trump comes along and says, no, I want everybody to pay equally, but we want all these benefits that we've been keeping too. Don't work like that. This doesn't work like that. It's got to be a give and take. America is just like, fuck it, we gonna take. It doesn't work like that. In the U.S., still in Venezuela, oil is good. I don't know where that's going to go. Look, you may end up having a liberal administration follow what we have here and have, I don't know how much America can afford to pay back to all the people we've wronged. I talk about this all the time, all the immigrants that are being wronged. Motherfuckers getting pulled over that are American citizens and detained for no reason at all. You got visitors that are getting held up by immigration at the border for little to no reason, sparking some countries to advise their citizens against coming here altogether. All of these things could end up being lawsuits. You do know that. Kilmar Abrego Garcia definitely has a big settlement coming. The way they trying to, listen, the country of Costa Rica offered to take Kilmar Abrego Garcia in as a resident. No legal right to be in America. He needs to be deported. Here's a country that will take him. The Trump administration refused to send him to Costa Rica unless he pled guilty to the bullshit they came up with, which is claiming he was a child trafficker. He refused to do that. So because he refused to do that, well, we want to send you to Africa instead. Fortunately, he's been winning in the courts, but it is against the law to use deportation as a punishment. If a person don't have a right to be here, you get to deport them. You don't deport them to horrible countries because you're mad at them. Costa Rica offered to take the guy. He should be in Costa Rica right now. They refused to send him to Costa Rica because he won't plead guilty to the bullshit they made up, which is claiming he's a child trafficker. Okay, if he's a child trafficker, charge him with child trafficking. Take him to court, get him convicted. They know they have no chance of doing that, so they want to be able to say he pled guilty to it, and then deport him. And he's not playing ball with that. But Costa Rica has offered to take the guy in. He should have been in Costa Rica a few months ago. Looking in the comments, says, you're talking to the wall. You don't even look at the camera, interact with the people talking to the wall. Well, let me just tell you, who said that? Nicholas. I'm talking to you right now, Nicholas, but the reason it doesn't look like I'm looking at the camera or talking to the wall is because I got 5 cameras I'm looking at. So when you see me looking other ways and I look cross-eyed and shit, it's because I'm looking at other cameras. There's 5 different devices. We're currently live on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So that's why. You want me to look at your comment and read it specifically, donate a super chat. It could be 99 cents. It turns the screen colors, and it guarantees I will absolutely read your comment. So how about that? But it's not that I'm not looking at your comment. We don't black ban or censor on this fucking program. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to have we don't have to have any agreeing political discourse whatsoever. I read critical comments as well. And we don't censor you for it. But I appreciate your input. Looking in the comments, somebody said Betty's gone already, says Leroy. Yeah. Hey, you're not looking me in the eye. What are you what is this? Who just said that? Dana almost. I was gonna make a man joke. I can't if you're a woman, because I was gonna say, a lot of times us guys like you to maintain eye contact at certain times. But your name's Dana, I'll leave it at that. American oil companies have billions invested in Venezuela, and they owe us billions of dollars for infrastructure, technology, and oil refineries. Democrats need to do some actual research. So you're saying American companies have billions invested in Venezuela. So what should be court cases between corporations is being enforced by the U.S. military? If an international corporation defaults on debts to American companies, they gonna send the Navy to get your ass? Is that what you? Is that what you're telling me? Because we owe a ton of debt to China. So if we default on the debt, they send the Navy over and start seizing shit? God. All right. Okay. Even if what you're saying is true, that's ridiculous. That's not how you settle shit. You take people to international court and things like that. You don't just show up with a fucking destroyer and aircraft carrier. God damn. What kind of landlord would you make? Jesus. I'm about to wear a mask again, because the second year of Trump is going to be the worst. That's what's happened last time. I don't know. The second year of Trump, if you don't like Trump, could end up with you feeling really happy, because I don't think there's anyone. I don't think there's, and I put emphasis on anyone. I don't think there's anyone that thinks the midterms are going to go well for the Republicans. And by the way, that was going to be part of the show, but we TikTok dropped us. Stefanik, the Republican that was running for governor in New York, she just dropped out. She suspended her campaign. The former congresswoman, because she's dropping out of that as well. They're losing politicians on the Republican side. So you say you don't think you're going to like the second year of Trump. You may actually like it more than you think. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to be trolling on behalf of the Democrats the whole year. Marjorie is not going away. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going away. Trump got a Marjorie problem. And look, there's a lot of folks who are definitely MAGA, love Trump, but do agree with stuff that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. I think deep down, most MAGA acknowledges that what Trump did to Marjorie Taylor Greene was wrong. She's genuine MAGA. You really made an example of a loyal one. I mean, she was actually down for the cause. What he did to Marjorie Taylor Greene shows ain't nobody safe. If he can do that to her, I mean, people like Vance and Rubio and who would be safe? Who would be safe? Bobart, none of them. I mean, I'm talking about the ones that are, hardcore MAGA. None of them would be safe. If he can do that to Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's nobody safe. I see Ben Baker says, I love him. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, with Candace and Tim Pool and Erica Kirk, Republicans have a lot going against them this midterm, especially since Zohan won. Yeah, well, the problem with Erica Kirk is they shouldn't have propelled Charlie Kirk to some godlike figure. Dude was good at debating. Dude was good at registering conservatives to vote or getting them interested in the conservative party. That's fucking it. That's it. You don't get hero status for that. Charlie Kirk's contributions, they're putting him in the same category with the likes of Martin Luther King and shit like that. Dude went to college campuses. He's a pretty good debater. I'm not going to take that away from what I've heard. And he encouraged people to be, to look at the conservative side of the aisle. That's it. Stacey Abrams done that. Stacey Abrams could fall in that category. That doesn't put you to hero status. So I don't get it. I mean, look, the way he went out was terrible, but the way they turned him into some type of idol to be worshipped is insane. And now they want to name, remember the old street in DC, Black Lives Matter way or whatever. Trump's gotten rid of that, but they're talking about naming that after Charlie Kirk. That would be the biggest waste of money imaginable because the next administration is going to take that down. It's only a matter of time before a liberal gets in office. That's going away the minute a liberal gets in office. There will be no federal money going to anything named after Charlie Kirk. I can assure you of that. If you want to name it after Charlie Kirk and spend some money doing all that now, go for it. But the minute you get a liberal in there, that shit's going away. I don't even know if the renaming of the military bases after Confederates is going to stay, but that Charlie Kirk shit is really going to go. That's going away the minute just like the plaques in the White House that Trump put in the other day, talk about Sleepy Joe and making fun of Obama's. That stuff's coming down the minute Trump's out of office. Now they can take them down and auction them off to the highest Republican bidder that may want that shit in their own library or whatever. But that's coming down. I mean, those plaques are nothing more than President Trump's account of what each president was like. He's not a historian. That's just his opinion. I mean, so that stuff is coming down the minute he leaves the White House. So I don't know how much it costs to put all those plaques up, but it was a waste of money, waste of federal tax dollars. That stuff is going to be gone the minute he leaves office. They just need him to show up and he's convicted. That's what kind of evidence they have on him. Who are you talking about? You'd have to be Christian to understand how great Charlie Kirk was. No. Plenty of Christians don't like Charlie Kirk there, Dana. Plenty of Christians don't like Charlie Kirk. I mean, the guy called for bringing back public executions. Is that what Christians like? Him saying he would like to see somebody's head get chopped off? Where am I? I got all my Charlie Kirk quotes right here. We got a little time since I'm just rambling on without being able to take on callers. Civil Rights Act was a mistake. That's a Christian slogan, I guess. Obviously, the black pilot thing came up many times. I'm not even going to go into that. Black America needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time as if there's no infidelity in the white side of the aisle. I mean, how many wives has Trump had? The guy actually is talking about black people need to stop sleeping around while endorsing Trump. Make that make sense. I mean, Trump was a proud philanderer. He was proud of all of the chicks he had. You're endorsing Trump, handing out MAGA hats at your debates and shit while talking about the black community needs to stop sleeping around. Make that make sense. When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, or they have today, they were less murderous. There were less break-ins. That's a Charlie Kirk quote, which is true, by the way. When blacks in America did not have the same rights they have today, they were less murderous. There were less break-ins. That is true, but it's missing some stuff. Because when blacks did not have the same rights they have today, whites were more murderous. There were more break-ins coming from that side of the aisle. He doesn't talk about that. But if you don't have rights and one group has all the power, you can expect them to do all kinds of things that would be criminal in a society where equality is the law. So he doesn't mention that part. So I don't know. He also says, of course, we pander to blacks. They're in every TV commercial. So obviously he doesn't really favor diverse television ads. And he's not the only one. I've heard other people complain about there's too many blacks in TV commercials. I don't know. Go back to the 70s. You go on YouTube, there are plenty of videos where people will show you like a football game or something from 1979 or something. And all the commercials are in it. I've watched some of this stuff. There were nobody black on TV. Nobody. When you watch, some of the TV from the late 70s, early 80s, those commercials are 100% white. So maybe that's the era Charlie Kirk is hoping we return to. He says, if I'm dealing with someone, I can't even read my own writing. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder if she's there because of her excellence or because of affirmative action. This dude seems to have an issue with black people. Okay, how do you feel when you're dealing with somebody in customer service that's a moronic white woman? This guy sees color. Well, he's past tense now, but this is clearly a guy who's seen color because it's coming up in a lot of his statements. What he says, like I said, I'm having a hard time reading my writing now. Something got worse since the Civil Rights Act. More violence, less fathers around, poorer. So, he says things. That's the word I'm typing here. Things got worse since the Civil Rights Act. There's more violence, less fathers around, poor. That's true, but he doesn't cover just like he talked about. There's more break-ins and crime, from blacks today than there used to be. Equality has consequences. If you got people in a cage, there's only so much they can do. If you let them out the cage, there's going to be good and bad that's going to come out of that. I mean, so yes, the black community was far more docile when they had no power and when they were essentially in a cage. Now that they're free, there are some that have chose a life of crime, but then there's also many that are choosing managerial positions and scholarship, becoming scholars and things like that they didn't have access to. He only seems to be focused on the negative outcome of freeing African Americans. He's not like, you don't hear him say that, before blacks had civil rights, there are more doctors now than there were back then, or there's more PhDs. He don't bring that stuff up. He only brings up the negative aspect of it. So that is Charlie Kirk. I'm gonna look in the comments for a minute because he said a lot of this other stuff too. Somebody said, Calvin says, you're advocating for limiting what people can say and forcing them to think and act like you. How so? Unless you're talking to somebody else in the comments, let me know, because I'm not doing that. Trump making America great again, says Drew. Depends on what your opinion of that is. Context is key, says Charlie. True, which is why I have a video on YouTube called Charlie Kirk in Full Context. I'm not going to go into it because it's like 18 minutes long, but it's in regards to the debate he had about when he sees a black pilot, he thinks, I hope he's qualified. Like I said, the video is 18 minutes long because it plays the entire debate between Charlie Kirk and an African-American man about him saying that. Doesn't leave you any room to take him out of context. You hear the whole debate. And then, of course, I editorialize it or whatever the case may be. Fact is, I'm going to tell you this. This is my opinion on Charlie Kirk. I can give you all of these clips, and I have a few pages of notes on Kirk, but my opinion remains the same, is that it doesn't matter if you like Charlie Kirk, you loved him, or you hate him, or you think he's a racist or whatever. If you listen to his clips and then you listen to the actual full-length debate, I watched about 20 hours of Charlie Kirk. If you listen to the full-length debates, my opinion is it's not going to change your mind. You're going to continue loving him, or you're going to continue hating him or thinking he's racist. These clips are just as good as the full debate. There's, like, for instance, when he says, just some of the things he says, Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday or something he said. Listening to him give you a 10, 20-minute explanation of that is not going to change your mind. You either probably already thought Juneteenth shouldn't be a federal holiday yourself, or you're going to think he's full of shit. You're not going to hear him give an explanation and be like, you know what, he's right. It shouldn't be a holiday. It's not going to change your mind. It's not going to change your mind. And that, like I said, I've listened to about 20 hours of him because so many folks are trying to defend him and saying you're taking him out of context. It doesn't change your opinion of the guy. It just doesn't. I haven't heard one quote he's made and then heard somebody say, you know what? Now that I've heard it in full context, I think differently. The people who are saying you're taking it out of context already liked him, and the people who hate him, the clips are good enough. You're not going to, most of the stuff he says is controversial on its face. You don't need to hear more. He said BLM. The acronyms BLM stand for burn, loot, and murder. Look, if you don't like BLM, you're gonna agree with that. If you've been to BLM rallies like myself, or if you're a supporter of BLM, there is nothing he's going to say to make you walk away thinking, he's right. BLM does equal. No, because if you've been to BLM gatherings, you know that the overwhelming majority of them, I think about 96% of BLM gatherings, do not feature anything being burned, looted, or murdered. In fact, every city in America, Every city in America that has a population of at least 50,000 people or more, and that's a lot of different cities. Every city in America with a population of 50,000 or more has had at least one BLM protest or event. If BLM equaled burn, loot, and murder, you would have had a lot of looting, a lot of places burned down, a lot of them. When you tell people, well, give me the cities where they were burning, that were burnt, well, Minneapolis, LA, Ferguson, there's a handful of places, Baltimore where it happened at. But like I said, every town in America with a population of 50,000 or more has had a BLM protest or event. There has not been fires and burning and looting like that. Right, my example isn't hate speech to you. Okay, you guys, let me look in the comments here though. Haters don't like to see people laughing. It makes them paranoid, like someone talking in Spanish. I've had some bosses like that too. I've had some employers like that as well that do not like to see their employees look like they're having a good time. I actually asked one boss, like, man, do you want people to be pissed off? Like, anytime people look like they're having fun, you just assume they're not working and you come over and fuck with them. Like, there's some bosses like that. Do not judge or you will be judged, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And the measure you use, it will be measured to you, says Richard. That is a biblical statement that the overwhelming majority of Christians do not adhere to. Christianity is exceptionally judgmental. Exceptionally judgmental. That's the one reason why I'm a big opponent of putting religion in schools. Christianity, they don't, people complain about you worshiping the wrong God. Hell, they used to complain if you didn't wear a suit to church. Your clothes, all of that. Christianity is exceptionally judgmental. But that is a tenet of it. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. That is what we said, but it is exceptionally judgmental. Tell them you'd rather be a soldier in a church than a preacher in a war. That's deep. I'd have to really think about what that means. You're really clutching at straws now, says Jim Bully. Let me say this, because I don't, like I said, I don't block, ban, or censor anybody. What do we always say? The program is MAGA friendly. So we're not going to, we don't ban anybody for their comments, even if they're critical. But I will say, offer a little bit more than just, you're a clown, you're a piece of shit, or you don't know what you're talking about. Actually state something, so I'll have something to work with. Hell, you might be right, but when you just type something that has no meaning to it, no value to it whatsoever, you can't really do shit with that. And I see Jim. Oh, you said I was talking to Calvin. Okay, all right. I thought you were talking to me, but this still applies to a lot of folks. When you're criticizing the program, and feel free to do so. I don't get every damn thing right, neither does anyone else, but feel free to do so. But when you're criticizing the program, add something to your criticism. Like I said, it may be enlightening to the point where it's worth taking note of, but putting a bunch of clown emojis or something in the comment section, or talking about the looks of the host or the ways a caller sounds or something like that, it adds nothing. It's just I have nothing to say. I just want to insult you. Okay, all right, fair enough. And I usually just skip over those, but your God isn't a religion. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but all of the stuff you learn about your God kind of is. All of the stuff that your God allegedly tells you how you should live your life is kind of that way. What I don't understand is this. If we're all going somewhere eternally and we're only here for a short time, why would God even give a damn what we do here? You've already given people free will, so you've already given them the ability to kill each other and torture and maim and rape each other and shit. Okay, just focus on the eternal. Why would you even leave behind instructions of how people should treat each other here? I just don't understand that. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. I like your Christ. I do not like your Christmas. Your Christmas are so unlike your Christ. This is a quote from philosopher, civil rights leader Gandhi. Really? Well, Christmas is all about worldly possessions. I mean, there's a lot of greed involved in it. I mean, it does come across as something that you wonder, like, to me, like the immigration, the way we're treating the immigration. What does Trump say? America first and all of this stuff. We're going to take care of them. None of that sounds Christ-like to me. It's like the wealthiest people in the neighborhood that used to give out turkeys to everybody during Christmas time and have clothing drives and stuff has decided we only go focus on our family now. We're going to be, about the Kaminskis first. We're not going to share anymore. We're going to be about us. That to me is what America looks like. The wealthiest people on the block, we're only going to take care of our people now. That don't sound very Christ-like to me. I don't see Christ in that. Rainbow, do you believe in human rights? You talking to somebody else in the comments. Real quick, like I said, we are open for questions. You have free will and the right to choose, but the consequences of your choice belongs to you alone. In my opinion, if you're going to be damned to hell for sinning, most Americans are going to hell. I mean, the way we live our lives is kind of like what we view sin as a reward. We all probably have more than we need to sustain life. We eat more than we need to. I mean, the greed is insane. A lot of, we don't take marriage very seriously in this country. Obviously, what we're doing to the immigrants, there's no way in hell I think Jesus would do that. In fact, I think the way we treat immigrants is so bad, we would kick Jesus out of the fucking country. I don't see it. And then, of course, I'm going to bring up all of the history of this country, where you'd have to assume most of the Confederates and all of them motherfuckers are in hell. There's no way in hell. I mean, if General Lee and Stonewall and all, if all of them guys are in heaven, how the hell they pull that off? So you would have to assume most of American ancestry, from George Washington on, all of them people got to be in hell. The way they were treating the natives and stuff, all of them folks would be in hell, right? That's the way I was taught. What they've done is not goodwill unto man. They came to the country, took it over, raped and pillaged everybody. How are they not in hell? So most of the patriots that we view in this country, the patriots throughout history, all of them folks, if heaven and hell is the way we claim it is, all of them would be down there, right? So, like I said, Christianity is confusing to me. If Jesus don't smoke weed, I'd be very surprised. You think Jesus was a weed smoker? Grandmaster Enclave says Jesus told you to follow the law. Look, slavery was a law in this country at one point. So if a slave escaped, essentially breaking the law in search of freedom, you think Jesus would tell him, take your ass back to the plantation? I don't know about that. I think that's something that was written by man to make their actions a little bit more justified. But like I said, if you're a slave and you run off the plantation, knowing that if they catch your ass, they're gonna beat you, if not hang you. The law says you gotta go back. Fuck that. Okay. Same thing with the Jews. If you're trying to escape Nazi Germany, if they catch you, they're gonna take all your possessions and send you to the house. Well, the law says you kind of got to go back. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. I think when you really, that's one of my problems with religion, is when you really start taking some of that stuff apart, it can be eye-opening. I think that depends. Okay, how do you define unjust laws? Any law that doesn't take into account humanity, to me, is unjust. Any law that's put in place that has no concern over your ability to even live, to me, that's kind of unjust. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, our medical community where people are not approving stuff that could end up. There's a story out right now I just read the other day. An African American gentleman who was a police officer. I don't know how many decades. He was about to retire. He's only a few months from retiring, and he's on dialysis. I don't know if it's an on-the-job injury, but obviously he wasn't hired as a cop years ago on dialysis. So it's obviously some medical ailment that has developed since he's been a cop. And they're terminating him. And he didn't do anything wrong. They're terminating him, which was going to end up killing his medical benefits that he would need in retirement. And he's talking about, you're not just firing me, you're also executing me for this. There's stories like that. There's plenty of stories like that out there. So I don't know. Like I said, to me, any law that doesn't take into account humanity is an unjust law. I don't think the way we deal with capital punishment in America is just. I think everybody knows, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, your wealth makes a difference. Wealthier people are less likely to get sentenced to death than somebody poor because they can hire the better lawyers. Skin color and all of that makes a difference. You're going to have if you're black and you commit a crime like that, it's more likely you'll be put on death row than a white guy doing it. And probably the biggest determining factor is gender. If you're a woman and you murder somebody, you are significantly less likely to be sent to death row than a man doing it. So because it's not dealt out fairly, I'm not in favor. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it. I can't even pronounce that right. I'm having a Biden moment. I'm not in favor of it because it's not handed down equally. If you get into an argument or a issue with your spouse as a man and you end up taking her life, you're going to jail for murder. If you do it as a woman, well, was he abusive to you? Did he holler at you? Did he scream? You're treating her different. It's murder. Why is she getting asked all these questions that I'm not getting? I mean, you're treating her different. So I'm not a fan of it because all of those different ways they treat it differently. Okay, so just so we're clear, you don't believe in human rights, do you? Calvin, I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but explain what you're talking about. Human rights. Let me know. That's true. Women have killed millions of unborn babies. Well, what do you want to do? You want to send a woman to death row for having an abortion? I don't like the way the right handles that. If the right was more in favor of helping single moms financially, not hardcore against entitlement programs like SNAP and housing assistance and things like that, I think we could have a better conversation. But to demand that woman carries that baby to term, even if she's not a woman, by the way, even if she's a juvenile that gets pregnant, in some cases, even if the pregnancy is forced upon her, there are plenty of folks on the right that believe even if the pregnancy is forced upon the woman, she should have to give birth to the child. And then you're going to do nothing for her to help her once the child is born. I don't like that. Now, in the comments, you say murder is murder. Either you're against it or you're not. To me, if a woman has an infant at home and you're against giving her any type of help during her time of desperation, I don't see how you're really that much above being a murderer. I mean, we have it in this country to help her. She's lazy or she had too many kids. I don't think we should help her. I don't see how you're any better. I don't see how somebody with that mindset should be able to be against a woman having a right to choose. I mean, shit. As opposed to her having a child that's at home starving and crying all damn day. Well, she tried to tell you she wasn't ready to be a parent and terminate the kid. So you forced her to have it. So now all this is happening. Well, she should have kept her legs closed. Then you shouldn't be involved in it. I don't think you should be involved in the decision. Reported, congratulations, little biatch. You're now on FBI's watch list. What is being said in here that's worthy of being on FBI's watch list? What the hell are you guys talking about here? Do I have to ban somebody? Jesus. Anyway, Doom Shop, whoever that is, I don't see the comments from him, but what are you saying in here that is worthy of being reported? You guys are crazy. Can we all just get along? Said a guy who once ran from the police and got beat up by a bunch of cops. Can we all just get along? You weren't there, so stay out of it. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm not a fan of banning a woman's right to choose and then doing nothing for her once she becomes a mother. Hey, bro, do you have any pictures back there or any black people like you, says Sapien. Well, the only two people behind me are the people that are currently running the country. But there was a time when the country was ran by black people. This guy was up there at one point. He's not running the country anymore. This woman was up there at one point. She's not running the country anymore. So I'm not going to put up black people for the sake of putting up black people. If all of a sudden the next guy that wins the presidency or becomes vice president happens to be black, their picture will go up there. But all of my live streams are on YouTube, so you can readily go back and what, like all of these streams we're doing with all the callers, all of that, they're all on YouTube. You go to the Handsome Liberal on YouTube, click on the live videos, and you'll see all of these. If you go back a year ago, you'll notice Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were up there. That's who was running the country at the time. They're not running the country anymore. So it is what it is. Doom Shop. Whoever Doom Shop is, I see everybody saying he's reported. What did you say, Doom Shop? Like, bro, I have a dark sense of humor. Okay, well, look. I don't know what the hell you said, but they obviously don't like your humor. What did you do? Joke about leaving package bombs somewhere or something? Goddamn. You been hanging around Brown University or something? Yes, it's a good idea to force women who don't want to be mothers to be mothers. Surely they won't abuse those kids. That's a great point. I think it says shadow. So that is a great point. If somebody comes to you and tells you I'm not ready to be a parent, it's usually for a good reason. To ignore that and hope for Mother of the Year is just insanity. That is just fucking insanity. Now, I say the same thing about dads. A lot of women don't like when I say that, but I say the same thing about dads. If a man tells you I'm not ready to be a father, and as a mother, you go, well, shit, I'm gonna have it anyway. Okay. That dude told you the moment you told him you were in the family way that he wasn't ready to be a dad yet. And you decided I'm gonna have the kid anyway. Fact, that's fine. That's your legal right. Don't expect a great dad out of that guy. He told you ahead of time he wasn't ready. You just said screw him and did it. Just like if you were in the family way and you weren't ready, but the dad wanted you to have the kid because he was, you wouldn't want him telling you what to do. So it should work both ways. I understand biologically only a woman can carry a child, but his opinion should matter a little bit more than it does in our society. His opinion does not matter as much, but he's telling you he doesn't want the child. And then when the child's born, you expect, well, why ain't he participating? Why ain't he doing his part? What the hell you think he told you? And I think that applies to women that want the right to choose, is that you don't force them to carry the baby to term. And then all of a sudden start wondering why they are not being a responsible parent. I don't think people understand that. Don't have sex equals no babies. No, it doesn't, Grandmaster Enclave. People get raped. You guys want rape victims to carry babies to term as well. So no, that even that doesn't excuse what you guys are trying to do. Finally, a president that puts the American people first instead of terrorists. Fuck Joe Biden, fuck the Dems. Jeff Boo, here's what you say is quite common. That, people celebrate Trump finally putting the American people first. My response is simple. How? What has Trump did to indicate he's putting American people first? What are the American people super happy about that they are personally receiving since Trump became president? I'm not seeing it. I'm hearing farmers complaining. I'm hearing people in the tourism industry complaining. How are the American people being put first? The only thing I see Trump doing, which a lot of people like, is he's going after people who are perceived to not be Americans. Maybe you like seeing him go after those people, deportations, or make their lives miserable for some other reason. But in terms of you as an American, how is he putting you first? What is he doing for you? I don't get it. I see in the comments, he says gas prices, egg prices, secure borders. Gas prices, I'll give you that. I love what he's doing. If that is him. People try to say it's not him, but as far as I'm concerned, gas prices are dropping under Trump's watch, so I give Trump credit for it. So gas prices, I agree gas prices are coming down, but the price of groceries and other stuff is going up. So it could be a trade-off. I mean, are you buying that much gas that is making a difference? I mean, listen, I'm someone during my day job, I drive about 400 miles a week. So for me, gas prices, I fill up twice a week. But the average American driving 10, 15, 20 miles to work, that ain't a big savings if gas goes down 30, 40 cents a gallon. I mean, okay, so let's say you got a car with a 20-gallon tank, and that's a big vehicle, 20-gallon tank, and you save 40 cents a gallon. That's $8 you save per fill up, if I'm correct, if my math is correct. You fill up twice a month, 3 times, okay, you save $20 a month. It's money, but that ain't that great. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you're paying way more than an extra $20 per month. I still don't see the American first. Now, you also brought up secure borders. I'm gonna say 6.5 dozen on the secure borders. If you live near a border town, or if you live in a town that was flooded with immigrants like Chicago or New York because of what Ron DeSantis and Texas Governor Abbott did, yeah, getting the border under control may be of some significance. But most Americans are not really. Your life isn't changing because of secure borders in most areas. Most cities are not flooded with immigrants. So even though under Biden, the perception was that the border was wide open, if you live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, for instance, what Biden was doing at the border was not affecting your city. You weren't flooded with immigrants in that. And that's a lot of American cities. That's a lot of American cities that can say when Biden took office, we didn't notice the immigrant population in our country blowing up like that. We heard that 25 million people came in the country under Biden. That's what Trump was saying, but didn't change anything around here. I mean, and I think that's most American cities are like that. So even when you say securing the border, I don't think that's putting Americans first. Because if something happens to you, chances are it is not going to happen by way of an illegal immigrant. Most of the people that are harming each other in this country are American citizens. By far, most of them are American citizens. So look, he's going after people that you think are not doing things right, and that makes you happy. You don't want, biological males playing against women in sports or going in bathrooms with kids, even though it wasn't going to happen to your kid and you're not playing against one in sports, but it makes you feel happy to see him doing it. The border being overran is not affecting your community at all, but you don't want all these unknown people in the country, so you're happy seeing them doing it. That's what's really happening. You're not actually benefiting from any of this shit. You just like seeing him. He's making liberals cry. Fine. I didn't like the liberals. I like him attacking the liberals and making them pay for stealing the election or trying to impeach him. That don't change your life one fucking bit. That doesn't put food on your table or more money in your account. Just makes you happy to see it happening. And I think that's what most of Trump's his victories are. Is watching him go after people that you think needed to be sought after. But at the end of the day, that doesn't benefit you one bit. So when you say he's putting Americans first, how? How are Americans actually benefiting? That's what I'm asking. Trump doesn't follow the rules, didn't even release the files today. You're not going to get those files from Trump. You're gonna get those files posthumously, probably. That's what's gonna happen. But by the way, that's why we're running a different type of show today. Is TikTok took us down because we were running in the censorship. The minute I started talking about Epstein, all of the numbers on YouTube, TikTok dropped, and TikTok banned my profile for a few days. So the censorship is in. They do not want you talking about Jeffrey Epstein. They don't want you talking about him. So that's why I haven't been talking about. We're going to come on here after Trump speaks tonight, and we'll be on the backup profile. So we'll be to take callers and run the show as normal, but they don't want you talking about Epstein. In the comments, you didn't even get a chance to get Gangsta Grandma on today. No, well, we did not. Greatest thing I hate is they were talking to people about how much the cartel was worth. And I'm like, we don't give a shit how much the cartel is worth. And that's another thing, too. With Trump claiming that the goal is to stop drugs from entering this country. I actually think that's a lie. Now that he pardoned that drug kingpin and gave no explanation for why he done it. No explanation at all. It made no sense to pardon a drug kingpin in the middle of a drug war. Makes no sense at all. That guy is putting way more drugs in this country than anybody he's blowing up on those boats. And he let that dude go. Not only did he pardon the guy, shaving 43 years off of a 45-year sentence. That guy was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison June of 2024. Trump comes along this fall and pardons him completely. So he saved 43 years in prison dealing with Trump. But not only did Trump pardon him, he didn't even deport him back to where he came from. There is an Interpol warrant for that guy's arrest from his home country of the Honduras. So Trump not only saved the guy from serving a ridiculous amount of federal time here, he also helped aid and abet him from doing time in his home country because they don't know where he's at now. America did not even deport the guy. We don't know where he's at. He might be here in this country. He may have sent him to Argentina somewhere. We don't know where he's at. But we're supposed to be fighting against drugs, huh? While aiding one of the biggest drug kingpins in recent memory. Okay. We love Mexicans. Even the Mexicans hate the cartel. I don't know about that cancel culture because the cartel is a huge employer in Mexico. Huge employer. I mean, they probably hate the danger of the cartels because they will take out you and your family over they don't value life much. It doesn't take a lot to lose your life. But if the cartel disappeared, they would notice that loss of income in that country. I mean, think about how much Americans use narcotics. All that money is going to people like that. They're getting billions of dollars from the smokers and drinkers and sniffers and snorters in America. If all of a sudden the cartel goes away, the cartel employs a lot of people. So, I mean, there's good and bad to it. There is good and bad to it. So, if all of a sudden the cartel goes away, you're going to have a lot more poverty in Mexico. It's ill-gotten gains. I'm not gonna defend how they're making their money, but that money is helping that country out to some degree. It's ill-gotten gains. And by the way, despite talking about how bad the cartel may be, keep in mind, they ain't forcing nobody in this country to do drugs. Nobody. All of the awful shit they're selling is being consumed consensually in America. We actually have a demand for that stuff. So look at it like that. Trump closed the border. Can Kamala say the same? No. No red run debates. And I think that's probably the biggest accomplishment of the Trump administration is their border. Because most of the other stuff he promised is turning into a failure. Ending the wars in the Ukraine and the Gaza war, Gaza-Israeli war, that's a failure. The economy is not looking good. He said he's going to bring down the price of groceries on day one. That is not, I mean, his work at the border is probably his biggest success. And like I said before, that's a success that really doesn't affect most Americans. Unless you live in a border town or a few of the towns that do have a lot of immigrants, most Americans are not affected by that. So, like Minnesota, for instance, where all of those Somalis are at, that he really hammered the other day about the fraud that's been perpetrated on the state of Minnesota. He wanted to retaliate by sending ICE into Minneapolis. Most of those Somalis are legal Americans. You don't hear them bragging about how many Somalis they've deported. There's nobody there to deport. They're all here legally. You can arrest the ones that committed fraud, but that's a tiny, tiny portion of people. He made it sound like the whole community. They're all garbage. They all need to go. They're all Americans. So for that city, securing the border is not benefiting them whatsoever because them people didn't come across the border illegally. So yeah, there's a lot of Americans that, like I said, Trump's biggest accomplishment is securing the border, but for most Americans, that doesn't change their life at all. Doesn't do anything other than make them immigrants are getting kicked out. Yeah, but you still got to go to work tomorrow. You're still struggling to pay your damn bills. Okay, you can sit here until you feel sleepy watching immigrants get arrested by ICE, but make sure you get in bed and get up early. You still got to go to work tomorrow. That doesn't change your life one bit. Um, Somebody says, what part of legal and illegal immigration confuses you? The part when you lie and say it's only about illegal immigration is what's confusing me. Trump is talking about getting rid of birthright citizenship. That's legal. Trump is talking about getting rid of, well, he already got rid of TPS status, temporary protected status. That was legal. He's talking about raising the price of H1B visas. So he's making it harder to come here on a visa. That's legal. What else has he done? I mean, he's actually made coming here legally significantly harder. So it ain't just about illegal versus legal. It's about immigrants. Period. We don't want you here, legal or illegal. What do you think he means when he says, "Why can't we have people coming from Norway and Sweden as opposed to third world countries?" Didn't he just ban all third world countries? Okay, so all the legal means of coming here has been exhausted. So yeah, he's doing a whole lot more than just getting rid of illegal immigrants. He's making it harder to come here legally by I think most brown and black countries are finding it harder to come here legally. He wanted a Muslim ban in his first term. That's legal. The Afghan immigrants that are in this country, they're here legally. He wants them to go. It has nothing to do with illegal versus legal. He wants these people gone, and it's more politically correct to say you're following the law and you want to get rid of the illegal ones. But in reality, he, and I'm pretty confident when I say this, he and most MAGA want a lot more than just illegal immigrants out of this country. When he talked about getting rid of the Afghans for the actions of one dude, MAGA cheered that on. All of them people are here legally. All of them are here legally. MAGA was totally okay. Get rid of all of them motherfuckers. All of them are legal migrants. MAGA would have no problem. So yeah, the idea that he's only talking about illegal immigrants that's a lie at this point. I mean, that's a flat out lie. Yep, we want a crime-free country, period. Jeff, you got to be fucking out of your mind to say that. You really think that in America, all of the crime is being committed by immigrants? You really believe that if we got rid of immigrants, America would be a crime-free country? How many schools have been shot up by immigrants? How many immigrants are responsible for most of the mass casualty events in this country? I mean, I don't look. I'm gonna tell you something. If we got rid of the illegal immigrants in this country, I don't believe crime in most cities would change at all. Our prisons and penal system is not loaded with illegal immigrants. It's loaded with black people and poor white people. If you got rid of all the illegal immigrants in this country, I think most American cities would not see much of a change in crime rate at all. Got nothing to do with that. Like I said, it makes you feel good to hear him doing it, though. Fun fact, you can judge a man's character by the children he has raised. Trump's kids versus Biden's kids versus Rob Rayner kids. Mike drop Mike. Huh? Really? Okay, so you're going to bring Rob Rayner's kid. Obviously, Rob Rayner and Joe Biden has children that have substance abuse problems. So what you're suggesting is because Trump's children don't have it, you should judge Trump. You do realize Trump sent his kids to fucking boarding school. He ain't taking his kids fishing and doing all kinds of shit like that. He ain't hanging out on Sunday with his kids at church and shit. He sent the motherfucker to boarding school. I mean, even now he's running the country and Melania's some up in other areas. When Trump became president, he wasn't hanging around Barron like that, and that guy was still a juvenile. He sent this kid to fucking boarding school. You can tell the difference by how he raised it. Trump raised his kid with money. He wasn't around that kid teaching that kid how to play ball and shit, playing catch with him and stuff. You crazy as. And by the way, it doesn't matter how much of a active mother or father you are. Substance abuse can hit and hurt any family. You can be 100% in your kid's life, and somebody at school may convince your child to try huffing or to try vaping or something in response to something else. The drug trade affects everybody. There's no, you can't outraise your kid for doing that. You just there's too many other influences that can affect your child. Depression. Your child could just be sitting around at home on the internet all the time and get depressed and do shit. I mean, you can't. Yeah, you cannot. You can't. There is no specific way to raise a child which guarantees they won't get hooked on substances. And also keep in mind, both Rayner and Biden's children got hooked on substances as adults. So even if you give your child a great childhood, that's not to say that they may not get divorced, may not get back pains and start using opioid. I mean, there's all types of things that can happen to them in adulthood. I mean, Hunter Biden is like 50 something. When did he get hooked on substances? I don't recall hearing about Hunter Biden being a drug addict 25 years ago. You gonna blame Biden because his 50-year-old kid is hooked on? If he'd been hooked on substances that long, he'd be dead already, right? That dude wasn't hooked on substances when he was hanging around Biden. So I don't know where that's going with that. You can raise them to adulthood, but you cannot make, you can't make their decision once they're, My guess is Hunter Biden got hooked on drugs after he was outside of his father's care. Like I said, he's like 50 something years of age. He ain't been a drug addict for the last 30, 40 years. Fuck you think he is, Whitney Houston? And even she didn't make it. Donald Trump taught his kids how to fish, not feed a fish. Yep, let that sink in for a minute. Exactly. That's a good point, by the way, too. Trump's kids are they're silver spoon babies. They know from day one you're never really going to have to work a day in your life, and if you do work, the job is going to be given to you. I mean, you think Don Jr. or Eric earned the positions in the companies and businesses that they're in? No, that shit was gay to them. You want to talk about DEI didn't earn it? You think both of Trump's kids are worth the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're worth? You think they earned that position? No, that shit was given to them. If you want to talk about people who are in positions where they didn't earn it, those kids are exactly that. In fact, Barron, his youngest child, that kid's already worth several $1,000,000. What the fuck has he done to earn all that money? That kid is worth several $1,000,000 already. DEI, that's the same shit. You don't have to be rich to teach good values. True. Wealthy people work harder and have to be more creative than the working class. You really believe that, Tom? Wealthy people work harder and have to be creative than the working. Bullshit. The country is set up that once you get wealth, you get a snowball effect. And when you do not have wealth, it's really hard to get it. The people who work the hardest are not wealthy. It's the poor people. You don't see nobody rich going into a fucking coal mine, do you? Or walking around a construction site knee deep in mud. Ain't nobody rich. The poor people are doing all. What do you mean? You say wealthy people work harder? Bullshit. Bullshit. That is absolutely not true. They come over here and spit in Americans' face. Jackie, you believe that? You believe that most immigrants come to this country and spit in Americans' face? Look, I think this shows the anti-immigrant sentiment coming from the right. Is that what you do is you find, when you don't like a group of people, you find one of them that does something wrong, you highlight that one person's actions and you use it to paint the whole group. And that's where you get that from. You don't hear anything on the right that is good about immigrants. If you're watching Fox News and they're talking about immigrants, it's something bad. You can't find one that ever pulled a cat out of a tree or went into a burning house and saved somebody, or called 911 when they saw an American citizen unconscious at a car accident. They all bad, huh? Anytime you hear the right talking about immigrants, just like same thing with the LGBTQ community. If you hear a news story on the right about the LGBT community, that is a negative story about that community. you're looking for wrong, you're going to find it. Like none of them do anything good. Ain't none of them out there decided to adopt an infant they found in the park or something. You can't come up with two gay guys that found somebody's baby that was left behind and they've been raising it and it's turned out to be a productive citizen. Nothing good at all. Just all negative shit. Anytime you hear the right talking about LGBTQ or immigrants, it's a negative story. In the comments, Jeff says TDS is a life sentence. Well, the good thing is Trump ain't gonna be around much longer, so at least you can, maybe the cure is coming soon. I mean, you said Trump derangement syndrome is a life sentence. Well, Trump is not going to be around much longer. I don't think in 20 years, people with TDS in European is going to be talking about Trump every day. I think he'll be, once he's gone, it'll go away. How about that? It'll, as Trump said about COVID, it'll clear up on its own. It'll go away with Trump. Hopefully Vance will replace Trump. We'll see. We'll see. CTCV says, I knew this brother was gay. Don't know where that's coming from, but okay. These people are delusional as hell. Over 80% of Somalis are on public assistance. That's been fact checked as false. 80% of Somalis are not on public assistance. I'm talking, and by the way, most of the Somalis are either naturalized or born in America. If you're a Somali, you're born in America, Somali man, you can't just get on welfare. I mean, a Somali and here's the problem I think that the right has. You guys don't view all Americans as equal because you view those Somalis as immigrants, even though they are born in America. Now, some of them migrated here a generation or two ago, but once they give birth to somebody that's born in this country, that person is an American. You guys are clumping them all up together as immigrants. A lot of them are Americans, so you're still calling them Somalis. No, that's an American now at this point. Same way you kind of call Kamala Harris Jamaican and Indian. Or you guys do not view, and this is my opinion, but I'm starting to see it more and more. I don't think you guys view brown Americans as Americans. You want to keep them tied to their ancestry, no matter how long they've been here. I mean, these people are born in the fucking country. You're still calling them other stuff. Like when what is her name? I think that what's the name was born here too was Nikki Haley. Yeah, she was born here because she ran for president. You guys are calling her other stuff. I mean, you don't want these people to be American. You have an issue with letting brown people receive the designation of just being an American. You keep trying to tie them to ancestry. They're not born in those places. Kamala Harris was not born in Jamaica or born in India. She was born in America. But you're calling her other stuff. I'll say it again. Support your local liberal. Handsome conservative is hard work doing that, but I appreciate it. Thank you, man. I appreciate your support, man. I'll go ahead and check that comment. Appreciate that. It's not letting me do it, is it? Yeah, there we go. Looking at the comments, fun fact, Kamala is a Sanskrit. It says Kamala Harris is a Sanskrit, word meaning lotus. It used as a feminine name in Indian culture, predominantly Hindu. She lied, dog. You know this from her fucking name? I don't understand where you're going with that, Jeff. Okay. She's an American that has Indian heritage, or heritage from India, rather. And she has a name that, I mean, so every Jose is not an American because they got a, what is your point? I don't get that. Tim, they don't even want to be called American. I don't know about that, Boost Coyote. Thank you for your support. I don't think Kamala Harris has ever, well, Kamala Harris is on record identifying with her Indian and Jamaican heritage, but how many Irish go out and put Irish tattoos on them? Or you see them on, what is their day? St. Patrick's Day. Kiss me, I'm Irish and shit like that. You don't look at them and say they're not American, they're Irish, do you? I don't know why all of a sudden Kamala Harris says I'm Jamaican and she loses her American heritage, but all these other groups still do their shit and they don't lose it. The Irish are still very proud of their heritage and they claim it all the time while they're in America. Nobody tells them they're not American because of it. So why should all of a sudden Kamala lose hers? Charlie says that's different. How is it different? Tell me how is it different? If a Mexican goes around tattoos a Mexican flag or a Jamaican tattoos a Jamaican flag, you guys see them as other. But somebody walks around with an Irish clover leaf or what is it called, a clover or what, you don't see them as the same. You see them as okay with doing theirs. Tell me where am I getting it wrong yet? I don't get it. Trump pics slipped through the redaction gate. Really? I got on because I'm not taking calls. I got on News Nation, but I haven't looked up to see what's going on. What kind of pictures of Trump slipped through? I'm curious to see if some of those girls that are being blacked out in the photos come forward and say that's me, because that's probably where we're going to finally end up getting to the bottom of this shit. Is the girls are going to have to solve it. You're not. The Trump administration is not going to help you get to the bottom of the Epstein files. I think that's pretty clear. I'll leave it up to you to decide why he's doing that, but you're not going to get to the bottom of this Epstein stuff with Trump. He's just not on board of doing that. He has his own reasons, whether it's to help out guys he think that are going to be wronged by it coming out or whatever the case may be. But you're not going to get to the bottom of it with Trump's help. Tim, if you're looking for racism, you will find it. True, but sometimes racism can find you as well. But yeah, there are people out there like the Jesse Jacksons and Al Sharptons who have a history of being able to see racism in anything. They can look up at the sky and say it's white clouds. There must be. I mean, there are people like that find racism in anything. But there are also people who find racism in nothing, that can look at racism right in front of their face and say that ain't racist. There's something else behind that. There are people like that as well. Because I'll tell you this, there is no era in U.S. history where people of color in this country were not complaining about things that were racist. And there's no era in this country's history where there were not a large portion of white America saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not racist. You know, even during slavery, you're getting free housing and free food. I don't see what you're complaining about. I mean, there's always been a pushback against admitting racism in this country. It's always been a pushback. You name the scenario, and there's people out there saying that ain't racist. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like a woman that got offended of the great divine blue ball ice cream. I don't know where to go with that. Like I said, some people can find racism in anything. But also there are some people who can find racism in nothing. Like, I'll give you an example. Joe Biden says, vote for me or you ain't black. The right can see clear racism in that. But it don't matter what statement comes out of Trump's mouth or Elon, or no racism at all. No matter what they say. Nothing Charlie Kirk said, none of that stuff is racist. No matter what they say, it's fine. It's you're taking it out of context. But they could clearly see Joe Biden saying, vote for me or you ain't black is racist. That's what I'm talking about. Because to me, Charlie Kirk obviously did not like black people. I don't think I've heard him say anything positive about blacks at all. Charlie Kirk was not known to hang around black people. I think there's video of him hanging around Candace Owens and Kanye West, which doesn't account for any points at all nowadays. But other than them two, dude didn't hang around anybody. I think Officer Tatum, another person that he hung around. But for the most part, Charlie Kirk didn't hang around anybody black. So why the hell do you have so much to say about the black community? You ain't even around these people. Why are you saying all this negative shit? That dude did not have a good opinion, did not have a high opinion of black people whatsoever. The proof is in the pudding, says Jackie. Haven't had pudding in a while. Next time I have some, I'll be sure to try and taste the proof. Irish people get American flags, shamrocks tattooed on them. Good enough for me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that these brown people from various countries, when they get their flags and they identify with their heritage, it's a no-no. But if the Germans want to, celebrate Oktoberfest or something like that, totally fine. You see the Mexicans out there, Cinco de Mayo, people get pissed off. Go do that in your own damn country. French can celebrate Bastille Days or Oktoberfest for the Germans. Totally okay. We don't have any problem with that. That's what I'm talking about, is that we don't favor letting brown and black people acknowledge their heritage in America. But we are okay when it's done by European groups. We're okay with it. Watching the libtards cry is very entertaining. Dana, I know a lot of people who are entertained by that. Understand, tears will shed on the other side eventually, though. It's that, what they say, what goes around comes around. Everything is circular. That will go the other way. So the more you laugh at somebody while they're crying, understand whenever times get hard for you, they're going to find it funny. Um, Brown and black people are nothing alike. Yeah, but they obviously have something in common, right, Jackie? Well, it depends. Listen, it depends on what brown and black people you're talking about. I mean, I don't think the English and the Russians have much in common. They're white. I mean, look, there are plenty of people who live in Turkmenistan may not have much in common with people that live in Samoa, yet they're both brown. So I get what you're saying, but I'm talking about from a standpoint of in this country, of how we view brown and black people in this country. Black Africans do great in America. True. I had somebody ask that. Why is it that the black Africans in America do better than the African Americans? The answer is simple. The Africans that come here are the cream of the crop. In America, you have African Americans that are everything from criminals and thugs and high school dropouts to ones that go all the way up the chain and become physicians and things like that. You got the entire gamut of African Americans in this country. The Africans that migrate here, the ones at the bottom ain't gonna come. They're not allowed to come in. You're not going to be allowed to come into America if you're coming from, if you're coming from Nigeria and you got a lengthy criminal history. You're not going to be allowed to come here. If you're poor, you can't afford to pay the fee. You're probably not going to be allowed to come here. So the Africans are going to be doing better in America than the African Americans because only the best of them are coming. Just like if you were to look at the African Americans in this country that have migrated overseas in places like that, only the upper level of them are doing that. I've lived in Australia. It cost me thousands of dollars to do that. I had to have fingerprints from city of Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, state of Illinois. I had to send my fingerprints to the FBI. And then I also had to have Interpol look into my history and make sure I didn't have international warrants. The people at the bottom ain't gonna be able to do all that stuff. It cost me thousands of dollars to do that shit. So even the African Americans in this country that move out of the country and go places are gonna be the ones that are higher. I mean, at the time I had sold a couple of apartment buildings. I had plenty of money on me. I mean, so that's why it's a difference. It's because you're comparing the cream of the crop, which are African migrants, to all of the black population. Makes a difference. I actually agree with the liberal on that analysis. Thank you, Charlie. We're getting somewhere. We can agree every now and then. Like what did they say in Rocky IV? If I can change, you can change, we all can change. So if you agree on a few things, I can work with that. Thank you. So if they are wealthy when they get here, why are they on government assistance? Most of them are not, Jackie. That's, like I said, when you listen to the right, if they're talking about black and brown people, it's generally negative. You're not going to hear the right cover some African that came to the country and has invented some new form of brain surgery or something. They're going to talk about the one that came here and is out of work. You're not going to hear that stuff. That's why you think most of them are on welfare, because that's the ones that are being covered. Even many of our prestigious universities around the country have Africans enrolled in those pursuing high-level degrees. They don't cover that. They're only looking for the negative stories. That's why you're hearing it that way. Tell me how your country is better. Tell me how your country can turn any country into the what? Co-op Cooper says, tell me how your country is better. Tell me how your country can turn any country into the inside of the sun. The hell is that, Oliver? We're okay. Titan says we've always at least tried to vet immigrants. The problem is a third world country typically doesn't even have the birth records, never mind criminal records. And that is true. That's the problem. If somebody is coming to America and they're telling you they're trying to escape persecution in their country, trying to escape the cartel or whatever, you're not going to be able to vet that person. If somebody defected from North Korea, you think the North Koreans are going to give you their criminal history? So people at the bottom that are trying to get in America, you're not going to be able to vet them. The people who are you were able to vet are like what I did. You know, a gainfully employed working American who had access. I had to pay at every step. I had to pay the city of Chicago to do the fingerprints and give me my records. I had to pay Cook County. I had to pay the state of. That's the people you can vet. Most of them people ain't trying to leave their countries though. It's the poor people that are trying to migrate for better lives. And often in those cases, usually those people are not going to be able to provide you with the information you need to vet them. Like a lot of the Afghanis that were fleeing the Taliban. The Taliban ain't going to give you their criminal history. You're not going to be able to vet them like that. You got to go to the village and maybe talk to a few elders and ask a few questions, but you're not going to, they're not going to provide you with that information. Somebody leaves Russia and comes to America. Russia's not going to tell you. Russia probably has a warrant for their arrest for leaving. They're not going to help you out. So I think saying that you want to vet migrants is a real savvy way of saying I don't want certain people to come here. I don't have to say I don't want them to come here. Just say you want them vetted because I know they can't get vetted. So don't tell people you don't want them to come. Just say you want them vetted. It sounds logical. It sounds reasonable, but in reality, it's disqualifying them. Most third world countries, if you require the immigrants be vetted, that would disqualify most third world countries because there's just no way to do that. And that's a better way of saying it than blocking brown and black people. You can do things. It's kind of like when they had when they were trying to prevent blacks from voting, and they just simply said, you can vote if your grandfather had the right to vote. Well, when those people's grandfather was around, he was a slave. He had no freedom at all. So if you tell the population you don't have to pay a poll tax if your grandfather was able to vote, only people gonna fit through that are white people. Because all of the black people's grandfathers were all. I mean, you can say stuff in a way where you're getting your point across without saying something that's nasty, even though the outcome is the same. And if you say I want everybody to be vetted before coming here, that's a more intelligent way of banning people from a lot of those poor third world countries because you know they can't do that. You know they can't do it. No screaming from Karens without BBC. What are you saying there? Yikes. Why would anyone from first world countries want to come to America? Business. Our laws are tailored more favorable to getting super wealthy than a lot of first world countries because our taxes are far less. Like if you listen, we have far less entitlement programs than most places in Europe, for instance, or even Australia where I came from. I mean, they have more. If you fall flat on your face in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, places like that, there's a lot more programs, government programs that'll help you out. Where that money comes from, rich people, comes from the working class. If you want to not have to pay that, America's a great place to be. We don't have anywhere near as many entitlement programs, which is why the rich in this country get significantly richer than they do in many other countries. Because we don't really take care of our people like that. You don't get health care. Most first world countries give you universal health care. Most first world countries give their people a lot more free education, a lot more working holidays they get in most first world. I mean, there's a lot of things that the actual working class citizen gets in those countries that you don't get here. And yet you still have people saying in America, well, people don't work hard enough here. Like shit, most jobs you get in America, you start off with 1 or 2 weeks vacation per year. Like when I lived in Oz, their jobs start out with 4 weeks. You start out at 4 weeks per year. And then they have more public holidays. But even their low-level, entry-level jobs, you start out with 4 weeks of vacation per year. You got to work in America. You got to work probably 15, 20 years at most jobs before you get 4 weeks of vacation. You got to damn near be close to retirement. Not just land fully owned carcinoma. I don't know what you're saying there. Ohio State Medical has plenty of doctors from Ghana. Yeah, there's plenty of them around. And like I said, they don't cover that. The right is not going to tell you about um, Indian doctor. I mean, we know all of these people are here, but the right is not going to highlight them or give them any credit at all. Even if you watch Fox, even when they have a medical story and they have to bring on a doctor as a political commentator, it ain't gonna be African or Indian. They don't even bring them up to talk to you. Like Sanjay Gupta on CNN, you're not gonna see that stuff on Fox. It's gonna be some white dude, maybe some black dude, but it ain't gonna. They're not gonna put on one of those people. But the other networks will. Like I said, they don't portray immigrants in a good light. They just don't. The Epstein files are not out. Why are you constantly carrying water for this pedophile president? Why? How am I carrying water for the? Well, first of all, Trump has not been confirmed to be a pedophile, so that in itself is wrong. That's not a confirmation. Listen, a lot of folks believe Trump may have done it, but there's no confirmation. So I'm not gonna convict the guy without any proof. Straight sex offender. Somebody said straight sex offender. I'm not going to say he's innocent because I don't have any proof of that either, but I'm going to say he is innocent until proven guilty. And right now, I don't see any proof that Trump has taken the innocence of a child. So right now, he's innocent until proven guilty. Red meat for the base. Move on. Fox News is still a juggernaut in the news world, and Laura Ingraham rarely misses. I think that they miss a lot, and because you like them, you just ignore the misses. What they did on the 2020 election is astoundingly bad. They were missing right and left, echoing all of the same shit Trump was saying about the 2020 election. Fox News, after the 2020 election, to me, Fox News, which is why they don't use the term fair and balanced, they lost all credibility, all credibility. Judge Jeanine Pirro was on the night of January 6th saying that was Antifa. Like, you're in a fucking studio in New York. How the hell are you yelling on Fox News Airways that that's Antifa? You're not even there. Just making up excuses to defend Trump. Fox News lost all credibility after 2020. I stopped watching Fox when they called Arizona in 10 minutes. Yeah. So, look, Fox News is probably the closest you can get to state TV. If Trump says something if Trump says something that they know is false, they're either going to continue echoing and defending it, or they won't admit what he is saying is not true. I mean, there is nothing fair and balanced about Fox anymore. That network is pro-Trump all the way. Pro-Trump all the way. And I mean, you can tell, because I've been watching Fox since 98, 99. You know, back when Shep Smith, I think at the time, some of the original anchors was Shepard Smith, who's long since quit. Obviously, Bill O'Reilly left in 2017. Who else was? Neil Cavuto was one of the early ones. I mean, I've been watching it that fucking long. And Trump is doing a whole lot of things I've seen them really adamantly criticize other people doing. And now all of a sudden, they either turning a blind eye to it or defending it. How they criticize Obama for being on the internet too fucking much, or how much he played golf. All of that stuff's totally okay now. It's totally okay when Trump is doing it. So it is what it is. And then, of course, in recent time, how they acted when people criticize Charlie Kirk. And then Trump talks about the, whatever the guy's name that played Meathead on All in the Family that just died the other day. Now Trump goes out there and says that. Not a lot of outrage. Not a lot of outrage. I have to say, I mean, that guy got stabbed to death, you know, probably died in a manner that was just as heinous as how Charlie Kirk died. The only difference is you didn't see it happening. But he was stabbed to death. So guarantee that is messy, bloody, all of the same shit that Charlie Kirk went out in. Trump said all that awful shit. Nobody had a few people on the right said a little bit about it. Bobart doubled down on Trump's statement. So, yeah, Fox News has no credibility. Rob Rayner, yeah, that guy. That guy was stabbed to death by it. So you can almost rest assured he probably was stabbed multiple times. Happened in his house on the kitchen floor. You can assume it's probably pools of blood. I mean, it was probably just as graphic as Charlie Kirk going out. Getting if you've ever seen somebody get stabbed to death, and I've seen many accounts of that on the internet. If you ever seen it, that is graphic as hell. And he did both his dad and his mom like that. And here comes Trump with that type of commentary. Same guy who went ape shit when people talked about Charlie Kirk. Fox News, hard on the Charlie Kirk criticism, ignored what Trump did. No credibility whatsoever. Fox News is kicking ass in the that don't mean nothing. No, it's kicking ass in the ratings. Fox News is always gonna kick ass in the ratings because they don't have as much competition. They should kick. I mean, it's like people compare the ratings of Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel and say that they're not very funny because they don't get the ratings of Johnny Carson. Well, Johnny Carson didn't compete against any fucking body. There's tons of shit on TV when Kimmel and Fallon are on the air. When Johnny Carson was on the air, you had 3 other fucking channels to watch. I mean, it's a big difference. Fox News doesn't have the competition of MS Now or CNN or all these other channels. There's less competition. So, how many other networks lean as far to the right and defend Trump as much as Fox does? On cable news, how many other networks do that? It's very few. So they should be killing in the ratings. Not to mention they got some hot chicks on there that they deliberately put on there for that reason too. Kicking ass in the ratings is a slap in the face to this country. It only means there's a ton of stupid ass people. Yeah, I'll tell you that is what affected me. When I'm in Chicago at night, I go back to my neighborhood and shit where I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I find myself like uncomfortable and shit like that. And it's like I have to remind myself, like, this is where you grew up. It's because I watch a lot of Fox. Fox News portrays African Americans in a very bad light. If you just like I said about immigrants and the LGBTQ, if you hear Fox News talking about African Americans, it's usually something negative. I can totally understand anybody who watches a significant amount of Fox having an adverse view of the LGBTQ community, brown and black immigrants, and black people, African Americans, black people. I can see it. If you watching, because I used to watch a lot of it. I don't watch as much now. I watch many networks. I do throw in left-wing shows like The View and stuff like that. But I used to do it throughout the course of work, a day at work. I would have Fox News on the whole day. I mean, I knew the whole fucking lineup. All the way from Harris Faulkner's show all the way up to the 5 when I got off. I knew the whole lineup. All of the Glenn Becks that don't used to be in the middle. Glenn Beck's show was before the 5, and before Glenn Beck, it was The Big Story with John Gibson. I knew the whole lineup. I could totally understand anybody watching that stuff and having those views because it portrays all of them in a terrible light. All of those stories are negative. All of them are. Answer the short question memory problem. Are there Bulgarians there? You're talking to somebody else. Merry Christmas, chat. Merry Christmas to you, Paul, as well. We'll be obviously on many times between now and Christmas, but Merry Christmas to you as well. Okay, here we go. He's pulling out the race card again. I am? How so, Dana? What does that say? Dana Denal? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but let me know how. State your questions in the comments. If it's political, I'll answer your question. You want to know how I feel about something or what I'm getting wrong, you can tell me that as well. And how do you feel about yourself, Tim? Feel like I'm overweight? At 300 pounds, I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. I feel like I'm overweight. I can't wait till the summer where I can get out on my e-bike and ride bikes and stuff like I used to. So I feel like I'm overweight. I feel like, what else do I feel like? I feel like I don't have enough MAGA viewers. By the way, I'm going to Vegas in a couple weeks. I'm going to try to go to Trump's hotel. Maybe I'll put on the MAGA hat and see if I can ask MAGA some questions. How about that? These folks be tripping but can't see Trump throwing out race cars all the damn time. Like I said, there are people who see race in everything and people who see race in nothing. Trump could literally call a black person a nigger. and they would say it was a joke or you took it out of context. See, race and nothing. What Elon Musk did with the Roman salute, clear as day to the rest of the world. Trump supporters, he's on the spectrum or something. Like, who the fuck has autism and starts throwing up Hitler salutes? See racism in everything or see racism in nothing. Anyway, looking in the comments, that's why you're not scared in Chicago. You're 6'5". Nah, listen, you motherfuckers got guns. 12-year-old will blast your ass. They got nothing to do with being big. Being big is not a, what do they call it? Not a, I forgot the term they're using nowadays. But it ain't something to brag about anymore. Being big, people ain't fighting with hands no more, man. You see these road rage incidents. Most of the time you see a road rage incidents, they only throw hands so long before somebody pull out some kind of weapon. People grab shit immediately nowadays. Motherfuckers don't even believe in just a fair fight. You kick my asses over, I kicked your asses over. People want to kill you. That's why I strongly advise. I don't care if fucking Tattoo from Fantasy Island get out the car. I'm not getting out the car during a road rage incident. Never get out your car during a road rage incident. You just do not know what's on the mindset of people. Dude might have just came from court and his ex-wife took everything he owns. He might have just got fired from his job. You just don't fucking know. During road rage incidents, do not get out your car. I don't give a fuck how big your ego is or whatever. You may die right there on the double yellows. People get out the car all the time. Like, you never gonna see this motherfucker again. Yeah, he cut you off in traffic. You never gonna see this dude again. Just drive off. Yeah, he's blowing a horn at you. He gave you the middle finger. You're never gonna see this dude again. It is not that serious. It is not. Grifting. Yes, that's what I was looking for. I gifted you a sub on Rumble. Thank you, handsome conservative. By the way, I am on Rumble. For my beloved MAGA, if you use Rumble, follow me, the Handsome Liberal on Rumble. I do want to start doing more lives on Rumble, but I got to get more of an incentive. So if you folks on Rumble, feel free to follow me. Also, the Handsome Liberal on X, we're verified. So follow us on X. I don't know if I can take callers on X. I've done lives on X. By the way, we're on Truth Social, the Handsome Liberal on Truth Social. We do post some shorts there. I do want to expand it, but if you use those platforms, show your boy some love. Follow us on those platforms. The right always has an enemy, a scapegoat. I think both sides have enemies and scapegoats, but the right has more of them because the Liberal Party is more inclusive. So you can only have so many scapegoats on the left, but on the right, it's not a very inclusive party, so they can have plenty of scapegoats. Which is why I often say that it's easier to be a Republican politician than it is to be a Democrat politician. Because as a Democrat politician, you gotta kind of try to adhere to the wishes of all sorts of people: Muslims, blacks, whites, Hispanics, fucking gays, trans. All of these people have a seat at the table in the Liberal Party. You heard what happened with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Genocide Joe got to go. People pissed off at him because he's not dealing with Gaza the right way. Trump comes along, fuck Gaza. I'm pro-Israel. I don't give a damn about Gaza. And the right is fine with that. As a right-wing politician, straight, Christian, white males, really, as long as you adhere to the satisfaction of straight, white, Christian males, you got most of your support, because even people that are in the party that are not white, that are not males, they pretty much want the same stuff. I mean, so you don't have to adhere, you don't have to worry about what the Muslims think or what the Hispanics think or anything. It's a lot easier to be a Republican politician. You just got really one group to focus on. You Americans from USA are divided and conquered. How are we conquered? Conquered by who? Not even close to being conquered. Why are you here in USA? Says Vernon. I don't know what you guys are talking about that one, though. Trump only supports American transmissions. Don't know what that means. Crap, I'm not even on Truth Social. Yeah, we're on Truth Social. You can't do lives on Truth Social yet. I think they're trying to do that. I would love to be able to do lives on Truth Social. Nothing but MAGA there. So it would be a great place to be. Like I said, there's plenty of, I think the percentage of, there's not a lot of people on Rumble, but they have a very high percentage of MAGA. So I'm on Rumble. Obviously, X has a lot of folks on it from all sides. We have done lives on X. Instagram, if you use that. A lot of titties on Instagram. If you like titties, go on over to Instagram. My God, the amount of chicks on Instagram that's showing you titties is insane. I can't even find people interested in politics. It's all titties. I leave that platform and I suddenly want a glass of milk. But Instagram, we're on Instagram, and Handsome Liberal as well. The left has more enemies than scapegoats. The right, wait a minute. The left has more enemies than scapegoats than the right does. You think the I don't know. I don't totally disagree. There's a lot of enemies of the left because they're trying to they're trying to play to all of those different groups, and that's going to create enemies. So I don't know if the left has more enemies than the right. I think both sides have plenty, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. So I just want you to be happy and care for your loved ones. But I understand what it is going to take for you to get there. Okay. I am MAGA, but not a troll. Jackie, good to have you on. And by the way, I appreciate that. I don't mind dissenting opinion. You can criticize me all day, but yeah, trolling adds nothing to the program. You want to get on here and, you're ugly or you're a clown, you're stupid. If I'm stupid, tell me why at least. That helps out the program. Being a troll is fine. That's why you're not getting banned off social media anymore, because we just trolled it into freedom. No, if I get on here because I stopped talking about Epstein is why I'm not getting banned. We were talking about Epstein in the beginning. It was bad. It was real bad. We're not talking about Epstein now. I'm an independent. I got more enemies than everybody, but I don't give a fuck. Your name is MAGA Slayer, and you're independent? That don't sound like an independent name. But you obviously don't like MAGA. Okay, or you could be independent. I'll leave it at that. Stop ignoring me. You know I'm right. Says 170. Right about what? So how can you have bipartisan legislation? Well, bipartisan legislation just means both sides voted on it. Doesn't mean equally. You can have 90% Democrats and 10% Republicans vote on a bill, and that's bipartisan. I mean, like the attempt to extend the Obamacare subsidies was bipartisan. Speaker of the House, Mike Jones, just didn't call it up for a vote, but there were some Republicans that joined the Democrats. That was a bipartisan effort. So you can have bipartisan. MAGA is a slogan. Why doesn't everybody want America to be a great country? Because everybody's definition of great is different. If I tell you to describe what a great America is like, I can guarantee you that somebody else does not think some of the things you said are great. Christianity in schools, for instance. Everybody don't think that's great. I come with a million different things. The tariffs, make everybody pay their fair share. There are people who don't think that's great. Just like taxing the rich, something the Democrats like. The right doesn't like that. Minimum wage increase. The right doesn't like that. So your definition of what America is as a great country is not going to fit somebody else's definition. That's why it doesn't resonate with a lot of people. Americans only suck Trump, I think you're saying. What country you're from there, Lee Hall? Because ain't nobody sucking Trump over here. We do need to extend Obamacare. I think that's going to happen. I don't think Trump wants to do it. I think in Trump's case, he would be happy to extend Obamacare if it was called Trump care. I don't think Trump really is concerned with health care. I think he's more concerned with the fact that it's named after Obama. If you can get Obama's name off of it, I think Trump would be okay with it. I think his goal is more focused on getting rid of Obama's legacy than really dealing with health care. So if you call it Trump care, he would suddenly be fine with it because now it goes down in history as something he did. And that's what I think it is. I don't think it has anything to do with, because he's saying that the healthcare is terrible for this country and things like that and all that stuff. If he did it, I don't think he would have a problem with it. Obamacare is horrible, says Charlie. Well, it's horrible to you, but to somebody who has no health care at all and they suddenly have it now, it's great to them. I mean, there's a lot of things that are horrible to people that don't need it because they're not focused on the people that do. SNAP benefits may be horrible to somebody who's worked every day in their lives. But if you lose your job and you fall on your ass, it suddenly looks pretty good now. So Obamacare sounds horrible when you don't need it, when you got a good job and an employer that's providing you with health care and things like that. Sounds great. But if you ever need it, your opinion might change. The USA would be better. The USA would better healthcare if they did not keep sending money to Israel and Ukraine. I think the USA could afford better healthcare if we didn't keep spending so much money on the military-industrial complex. I think our military is way overinflated. We're way past the point of self-defense. Way past that. There are countries that have significantly less military might and nobody's fucking with them. We're way past that. The problem with America is that we need a big military because we fuck with other people. And we need to have military when we're doing that. I mean, we got ships sailing every sea. No other country on earth has that. That ain't necessary. That's being done to police the world. But they say it paying the cost to be the boss is kind of how it is. We don't need to be in the Persian Gulf and all these other places. China's not there and they're a superpower. Russia's not in the Persian Gulf all the time. They're a superpower. We don't need to be in those. That shit costs a fortune. That stuff costs a fortune to do that. To have thousands of sailors being paid, feeding and housing them and all of that shit, the cost of running the boats and aircrafts and subs, all of that stuff, that is not necessary. Most of the danger that our military finds themselves in is when we are over in other people's countries. You don't have a lot of U.S. military personnel getting killed on U.S. soil. If we just did like all the other countries do and took care of home, you want to talk about America first. How about bringing them home and letting them take care of America? You could park a few ships on the coast, San Diego and on the coast of Maryland and shit like that, and make sure America, you don't need to be thousands of miles away. That ain't necessary. That's where people get killed. So I really do think that we could do a lot more for our own citizens if we weren't busy paying the cost to be constantly involved in other people's business. All of that shit that we have parked off the coast of Venezuela right now, you realize how many people we could feed and house and clothes when you take into account the cost of having a whole fleet just floating around near Venezuela, just floating around out there like that? Each one of those boats that we're celebrating that got blown up, the missile that's blowing up these drug boats, $500,000 missile to blow up a few keys of whatever it is on that, fentanyl or coke or whatever, $500,000 to blow that up. That's life-changing amounts of money for people. You could literally take care of some people for the rest. There are people who are 30, 40, 50 years of age that may not make the cost of that missile for the rest of their natural life. If you make $50,000 a year for 20 years, you only make $1 million. For 20 years, one missile, one or two missiles is that. I really think you could do a whole lot more if we wouldn't waste so much money in the military. Let's go back to being isolationists. You don't need to be an isolationist. Most of Europe is not isolationist. Australia is not isolationist. Hell, even most countries in Africa are not isolationist. You don't need to be an isolationist. You just don't need to be involved in everybody else's shit. Be and let be. You don't have to be telling other countries you can't be communist, you can't do this, you can't have weapons, you can't do that. Get out of people's business. That's all you have to do. Everybody else seems to be doing fine, doing exactly that. Just like with the European Union, form a group of allies and just have that agreement. We'll do business with each other. If anybody fucks with one of us, they fuck with all of us. That's all you need. You don't need to be in their country with bases and shit. They're not in our country with bases. There's no European country that has a base in America or anywhere near America. In fact, is there any European country? There's no European country that has a base anywhere in our hemisphere. You don't need that. That's just something we want. That shit costs a fortune to do that. You don't need to have all those. We got bases on every continent. That's not needed. And all the other first world countries prove it's not needed. That is not needed. That costs a fortune to do that. Yeah, America is the police for the world, while other countries can provide quality health care for their citizens. Exactly. Being the world's police only benefits a few wealthy people in this country, and it makes it so that there are no social safety nets in place for us all. More of us are hurt by doing that than are helped. And when we're playing the part of being the world's police, when them countries get mad at that, they're not going after the rich people that are making that happen. When they commit acts of terror and shit like that, that's gonna be you and I that's gonna be victims of that shit. Because the rich people are not easy targets. It's gonna be you or I that's walking in the park or coming home from church or the supermarket. We're the ones that are gonna pay the price. Like when Bin Laden got pissed off for us doing world police shit. You're not killing rich people. You're killing people like you and me that are working every damn day to make a point. So you're not only not benefiting from them playing the world's police, you may actually pay the price when them people want to take revenge on America. Because you're the easy target. You're the one they're going to be able to get their hands on. They're not going to be able to get their hands on Trump or Bush or Obama. It's going to be you or me. That's who they're going to get their hands on. There are many reasons for some of where we are at. There are reasons for it all. That don't mean they're legitimate reasons, though. There are reasons. Yeah, there are reasons. Exploiting people's resources, taking their shit, installing dictators that are favorable to the United States. There's a ton of reasons. It ain't all legitimate, though. A lot of it, and a lot of those reasons are what puts those countries in peril. It makes those countries poor. And that's what makes them want to be out seeking revenge on America. You fucked our country up. That's what angers and radicalizes people. We got a Middle East base in Idaho. That's bullshit. Yeah, Trump got a free jet from Qatar, and now he's teaching some of their pilots how to fly F-15s in Idaho. Nothing can go wrong from that, huh? I guess they'll blame it on Biden. I've never seen a man blame his predecessor for so much shit. I know Obama blamed George Bush a lot because of the war, but goddamn, Trump cannot talk. You want to talk about derangement syndrome, undiagnosed derangement syndrome, and I say undiagnosed because the right can see Trump derangement syndrome a mile away. They ain't saying shit about Trump talking about Biden. That motherfucker must wake up in the middle of the night in his sleep and yell out Biden. I have never seen somebody criticize their predecessor that fucking much. He could be at a world summit talking about peace in the Middle East or something. And, well, my predecessor was terrible at this. The fuck does he got to do with this now? Okay, we get it. He sucked at his job. We voted him out. He has dementia. He's gone. Like, how many times do you got to bring this motherfucker up? Like, we get it. He was the worst president America's ever had. Damn. Like, you want to tell me what derangement syndrome is without telling me that that's in it? Then you have a biased definition of derangement syndrome. If you can see derangement syndrome and you don't attribute Trump as having it, then your whole definition of derangement syndrome is biased. Because when you ask MAGA, give me your definition of derangement syndrome without mentioning Trump, and they give you their definition of what it means to have derangement syndrome, there's no way to deny that Trump has that. Well, derangement syndrome means you can't stop talking about the guy, or you blame the guy for everything, or he's always coming out. How the hell does that not apply to Trump? He's doing exactly all of that stuff. So if you can see derangement syndrome, but you don't see Trump as having it, then you have a bias detection meter in you. That's the sign of a weak man. Probably why it's been Married 3 times. You're talking about, well, no, I don't think Trump blaming Biden is a sign of Trump being weak. I think he knows his base very well. His base loves him to villainize people, just like they love hearing about crooked Hillary. I mean, anytime Trump speaks to you, he's criticizing somebody. I can't blame him for doing it. It's worked very well for him. I've been to a couple of Trump rallies, and that's all he did was criticize people during that time. You know, when he was running, he was criticizing Hillary when I was there. I mean, that's all he does. Every time you hear him give a speech, the theme of his speeches are bad guys. If he's talking to the people, there's a bad guy, whether we're talking about immigrants or, transgender and women's sport, there's a bad guy. All of his speeches have bad guys in it. It's worked very well for him. So I can't hate him. I mean, look, an old dog, new tricks. If it's worked for you, keep doing it. I mean, but that's what he's done. All of the stuff he says has bad guys in it. And the comments, Dana, he says that Biden was embarrassing. Biden was so embarrassing. And I'll just say the same thing I just said a minute ago, just like with Trump derangement syndrome. If you see Biden as embarrassing, but you don't see that for Trump, because Trump falls asleep in public, Trump stutters and talks about shit that makes no sense, and just all of the same complaints about Biden. I mean, the only thing missing is him falling off his bike, and that's because he doesn't ride a bike. All of the stuff that we criticize Biden on, now that Trump is starting to get in the same age range that Biden was in, he's doing it on too. Forgetting shit. I mean, he's rambling on like an old grandpa. He's doing all the same shit. You're just not hammering him for it the way you hammered Biden for it. He's doing all of that same stuff. So you're saying that Biden was embarrassing, but you're just giving Trump a pass for doing the same stuff. I mean, the guy talked about during the Civil War how great it was to see soldiers defending airports, even though the invention of the airplane didn't come to over 100 years after that. If Biden said that, it would have been all over Fox. Trump said it, zero coverage. Marjorie Taylor Greene said Trump was extremely mad at her for voting to release the Epstein files. He should have answered her damn phone calls. Marjorie Taylor Greene was not trying to be enemies with Trump. Even when she was criticizing him, she was kind of doing like with the Charlie Kirk or with the Israel thing. You want to criticize Israel, but October 7th was wrong. You say something good, or when you criticize police. Well, I'm not saying I hate police, but because you got to put that exclaimer in there with Charlie Kirk. Well, he really didn't deserve to die the way he did, and then you got to put that disclaimer. Marjorie Taylor Greene was doing that for Trump. Every time she spoke, I support Trump. He's a really great president, and then she would get into it. So she was making it clear she was not trying to be an enemy of his. He wouldn't answer her phone calls. She said she kept calling him. He was not responding. And that's when she started going on CNN and just like, I'm not getting any answers. I talked to these girls. I believe they were raped and things like that. I just want to help them out. And this guy is totally stonewalling me. And of course, the more she talked about it, the more angry Trump got, and then boom, she became a rhino. I think Melania Trump could become a rhino if she didn't say the right thing. That man will turn anybody into a fucking rhino. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just as far right as Trump is. How the hell did she become a rhino? Anybody could become a rhino under Trump's watch. Trump smells little boys. You sure that didn't apply to Biden? Biden was doing it. Trump smells little boys' bicycle seats. Ugh. Really? What the fuck? I ain't never seen them like that. There wasn't any airplanes before 1960s. Yeah, that's not true. The Wright brothers were in the early 1900s. You gonna tell me there was no air? Well, okay, you're pointing out. Oh, Robert Kennedy, who said 1960? Because obviously the World War II was before 1960. And there was plenty of airplanes. No, he said the Civil War. Trump said soldiers defending airports in the Civil War. So no, there was no airplanes during the Civil War. Even the invention of the automobile was not even there yet. So he said airplanes in the Civil War. Back when cancel culture was a big thing and projecting and your projecting was an easy way to sell you pills, huh? Trump has a high IQ. Trump has high IQ person, woman, man, camera, huh? I don't know what Trump's IQ is. I just know that if you ask Trump to give an analysis of himself, everything's going to be an A plus. He's going to have a stellar IQ. His grades at the Wharton School of Finance are probably going to be top 2 or 3. I mean, anything Trump, even when he took a mugshot, he gave out Jason Momoa type measurements. I mean, the guy sounded like he was a fucking rock. I mean, anytime Trump is required to give you an explanation of himself, don't believe it. It's going to be way above and beyond what it. When he came down the golden escalator and told us his net worth, it was $15 billion. That has turned out to be patently false. I think he took his grades and didn't want people to know how he did in school because those were not as high. I mean, his inauguration was the largest crowd. It was even larger than Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. I mean, the guy gives numbers that are just false. It doesn't matter how you feel about President Trump. Just understand, do not take his numbers on face value. It doesn't matter what he's giving you numbers about. If exaggerating those numbers will benefit him, expect those numbers to be exaggerated. How many votes he won by, all of that stuff, all of the numbers he give you are inaccurate, which is why I'm strongly telling you, don't believe what he's saying on the tariffs or how much money, when he gave you numbers about how much money Doge was saving, numbers were greatly exaggerated, and they've been able to show that. His inflation numbers are not accurate. I mean, any numbers he gives you, he's telling you the price of gas was like $1.98 a gallon at one point. Any numbers he give you, you got to question those numbers. He does not give out accurate numbers. He just does not. His amount of illegal immigrants coming into the country. I literally went to a rally and saw him tell us that under Biden, 8 million illegals came in this country. We need to do something about that. And then saw him on Fox News the same night telling people that 12 million had came in. The guy just throws numbers out there. Just don't ever believe his numbers. His numbers come from anywhere. I'm not saying he's the only politician that does it, but his numbers are not accurate. Trump is a great man. Enjoy his presidency, says Corey. Well, so far, I'm all right. He hasn't done anything that's helped me or hurt me. And my guess is he probably hasn't done much to help or hurt you either. Most of the stuff he's done is made liberals cry and went after things that liberals don't like, or liberals like immigration, LGBTQ, stuff that most Americans are not dealing with. You know, protecting the integrity of women's sports. How many Americans does that shit really even affect? You know, the same thing with a lot of the stuff he's did with the border issues. Most Americans ain't living in an area that's being overrun by illegal immigrants. That stuff has no effect on most Americans that are going to work every day. Illegal immigrants are doing nothing to hurt, help, or do anything. No effect whatsoever. Now the tariffs are different. Tariffs are different. Black unemployment is high as fuck, Tim, so he's hurting a segment of people. That is true. Once again, that hasn't hurt me, but yes. Now, at one point, he was bragging that he was creating jobs and lowering Black unemployment. That was during his first term. But what about the sexual offenders? Are they hurting anyone? If you're a sexual offender, you've already hurt somebody. What is your point? That's already happened. Past tense. Quit playing the blame game. Try being better. Who's being blamed? What are you talking about? Life sucks. Wear a helmet. Trouble is going to come. Trouble is going to go. True. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to make you better. Depends on how much trouble you encounter. You can encounter trouble to the point where it ain't up to you to make you better. Depends on how much trouble you end up getting in. Some trouble can be insurmountable. Depends on what you like. I was watching a video earlier today of this guy in Georgia that had his driver's license suspended because he had a DUI in a state that he's never been in. He had a DUI coming out of New Mexico. Apparently, somebody with the same name and nearly the same birth date in New Mexico, which is a significant distance from Georgia, had a DUI. And the state of Georgia, where he's never had a DUI, decided to suspend his license based on it. And you hear him detail all of the effort that he's been putting in to get that corrected and how he's getting a runaround from the DMV. And I think he was an Uber driver or something, so he had a driving job. So obviously he's not able to work when they've taken his license away. So you say, some trouble is insurmountable. Ain't nothing he can do. He don't have the money to hire a lawyer. I mean, he was pleading with the news outfit, and they were trying to get involved and help this man get his license back. He's getting screwed around by the government. So sometimes trouble can be insurmountable. Cost him his job and all of that. By no fault of his own. He didn't do anything wrong. Even the state of New Mexico was sending Georgia stamped, sealed letters saying, this is not the guy. The guy in question is in our state. This is a mix-up, and Georgia was still giving him the runaround and refusing to give him his license back. Stuff like that happens to people all the time. Get fucked over by the government. He pardoned a rapist and terrorist. Damn. Trump has pardoned some really bad people. I'm a white man married to a white woman with white children. Might be a bit racist. How is that racist? Okay, I'm a white man. White man married to a white woman with white children might be a bit racist. Oh, you might be a bit racist. Okay, but you work in Baltimore, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Harlem. I see from the outside in. Well, a lot of that comes from this. If you already have an adverse feeling toward a group of people, you don't need to watch but a few of them do something wrong before you demonize the whole group. Black fatigue is a perfect example. I see black people online committing mob robberies or BLM doing shit, and that makes me have black fatigue. Meanwhile, you know damn well it doesn't matter how many times you see crooked cops, you're never going to have police fatigue. It's because you already had an adverse opinion toward black people. I don't have to see but one or two Somalis committing fraud. I got an adverse opinion towards Somalis. You could watch Bernie Madoff and white people commit white-collar fraud all damn day long. You're never going to have an adverse feeling toward white people because you already had that feeling toward Somalis. Doesn't take much to bring it out of you because it's already in you. Same thing with immigrants. You don't need to watch many of them do something wrong. But like I said, there are hundreds of videos of police mistreating people. White, black, brown, you name it. They're mistreating people of all races. You'll never get cop fatigue. Instead, you're saying things like, 99% of them are good and they want to go home to their families. No matter how many of them videos you see, you're still defending cops. You only need to see one bad Somali, one bad Afghani. It doesn't take but one of them and the whole fucking group is fucked up. That's what that's where you know you're dealing with intolerance, bigotry, racism, discrimination, all that stuff. Doesn't take but one of them and the whole group is bad. Trump is a Republican American bastard. Damn, Corey, tell us how you really feel. Trump is getting worse and worse. By the way, he's speaking soon. I got to get out of here in a minute because, Trump is.
It's about a vote that Roy Cooper would cast every single time.
President Trump to speak on the economy in North Carolina. He's speaking in North Carolina tonight. North Carolina, come on and rise up. Take your shirt off. Twist it in the air. Spin it like a helicopter. I received everything I wanted for Christmas this year. Trump and Vance. I hope you're a woman. You wanted Trump and Vance? What the fuck? I don't want them for Christmas. What do you want, JD Vance? You kind of, when you said you want Trump and Vance for Christmas, it makes me think of episodes of South Park. You want Trump laying under your tree butt ass naked. I don't want Trump and Vance for Christmas. Yikes. Trump's economy or the Biden economy? Ooh. That ain't an easy one to answer because Biden's economy was not good, and I don't think Trump's economy is good. I'm going to say Biden's economy because I believe what Biden was doing even though the economy was bad under Biden, I believe what Biden was doing was eventually going to take the economy on an upswing. I believe what Trump is doing is going to do it the other way. I believe the tariffs, for instance, are not good for the economy. I believe a minimum wage increase is something that would be good for the economy. That's not going to come from Trump. That would come from Biden. So I'm gonna pick Biden's economy. Packy, thank you. Says, how about we talk about Trump's accomplishments? You're attacking him too much these days. I've been watching you for a minute. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, Packy. Here's the thing on the because people say that all the time. You're not like you used to be. You're going further to the left. We're not doing that. We're in the same place politically that we've always been on this show. A little bit left of center. Not progressive left, not Bernie Sanders, AOC, Elizabeth Warren. We're a little bit left of center. The program is called The Handsome Liberal, after all. But we're not going further to the left. The reason it seems that way is because Trump is going further to the right. Now, MAGA, the further right Trump goes, MAGA's following him. So even though I'm standing in the same place, you're further down the block. So I look like I'm further to the left. No, I'm right where I am. Same point, same views. I'm giving them credit for the same things, insulting them for others. But because, like, for instance, his stance on immigrants, he's doing a lot of stuff. Trump 2.0 is way further to the right than his first term. So I'm not moving. I get folks message me, DM me, they're commenting on my YouTube videos. It's hard to watch you. You've moved further to the left. You're too progressive. I used to like you. No, you've moved further to the right. You're supporting military in U.S. cities. That wasn't happening in the first term. He's doing things that are pretty far to the right now. So anybody that don't agree with that seems like they're going further to the left. No, they're still in the same spot. He has moved. So that's where it's different. But like I said, I just had a show 2 days ago where the liberals are cussing me out, telling me I sounded just like fucking MAGA and everything. Because I was giving them credit for some of the things that you're talking about there, Packy. I've never hesitated to give him credit for what he's done on the border. Never hesitated to. I do believe preventing LGBTQ transgender people from playing in women's sports is a good thing. I'd support that. I support the Lincoln Rally Act. The thing is, he's doing a lot of stuff that's not popular now. So it's harder to defend him than it used to be because he's doing a lot of stuff that I don't agree with anymore. Look, even when it comes to lowering crime and sending the military to U.S. cities, I don't support just picking it based on how much you hate the mayor or how much you hate the governor of that state. He's not doing it equally. If you truly wanted to lower crime, you would send the military to all violent U.S. cities. I'm only doing it over here because I don't like that mayor. That ain't how you lower crime. Now you're doing some biased type shit. So you get a lot of folks on the right. Well, you're against lowering crime. You're against arresting criminals. I'm against doing any damn thing if you're doing it as a measure of revenge. You're going to ignore Houston, Dallas, fucking Jacksonville, Miami, all the crime in these cities that have Republican governors. You're only just because you don't like the liberals. I'm going to send it to liberal areas with liberal governors because I want to piss off. You're not doing it to lower crime. You're doing it to piss off the libs. And he's doing a lot of stuff he's doing is based on that. So I'm not trying to, just to hammer the guy, but when you're governing based on revenge and all of this other shit, yeah, I'm gonna criticize that because that's not governing in good faith. We can bring up other politicians you believe that were fucking with him or trying to arrest him or trying to prevent him from getting whatever. That don't justify him doing this stuff. Even if you think Biden was trying to fuck with him or Biden's DOJ was weaponized, well, doing the same thing, if you thought it was bad when Biden is doing it, then it should be bad when Trump is doing it. Doing it in reverse don't make it legit. If you think that MSNBC or CNN is biased, but you don't have the same opinion about Fox, then you're okay with biased media, for instance. It's just, like I said, so it's not that we're changing at all. It's that he is changing and we're not following him on that. For instance, Trump is doing a lot of stuff now that MAGA would have called fear mongering if you had told them they were. If you had said this time last year, now that you guys did not elect Kamala Harris, I bet you, as she said, because Kamala Harris did say this, I bet you he's gonna be using the military on his own people. You guys would have said that's Democrat fear mongering. Or he's going to try. I bet you he's going to go down to Venezuela and try to take out the list. This fear mongering. He's doing a lot of stuff that you guys would not have even admitted that he was going to do. He's moved further to the right. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't take one. We can all have a bad day or interaction. I'm 50 years old. I compile data and statistics. Is Tim, Lisa, Sarah, Tommy gonna rub me wrong, or Orlando? It depends on what you've done. Okay, you're saying this is about black on black crime. He says it doesn't take one. He says we can all have a bad day or interaction. I'm 50 years old. I compile data and statistics. Is Tim, Lisa, Sarah, Tommy going to rub me wrong, or is Orlando, Laquifa, or what he's saying is the statistics show you're more likely to be affected by those names are indicating people of color, LaQuisha, Orlando, as opposed to Tim. My name's Tim, by the way, but Tim, Lisa, or Sarah. Now, here's the thing. You're focused only on specific types of crime. Because, yeah, you might get your purse snatched by Orlando, but Seth is going to snatch your whole fucking retirement. Your whole fucking bank account might be snatched by Seth. You didn't see him do it because he used a computer. Tyrone may have taken your wallet out of your hand, but he took your wallet. This other dude done took your whole fucking retirement. So I think you're looking for certain types of crime because, yes, street crime is more likely to happen to you by somebody of color. But white collar crime is likely to happen to you by a white person, more likely by a white person. And white collar crime can be just as damning, if not worse, than street crime. I mean, you take somebody like Bernie Madoff, for instance. He actually took people's whole retirement funds from them. People 70, 80 years old, they can't go out and work and make more money. The whole retirement, and there's a ton of those kind of people. All of them folks. If you ever watch, what is it called? American Greed, comes on CNBC. Most of those people are white. They're taking big amounts of money from people. People's cribs and shit like that. Your whole fucking house has been put over in somebody else's name. You're just not taking them into account. Them ain't black people doing that. Them ain't Hispanics doing that. Them white people are doing that shit. You just ain't giving them credit for it. You just noticing the criminals you see on Fox News. Fox News ain't telling you about your white collar criminals that are defrauding the U.S. military out of billion-dollar contracts and shit that your tax money is paying for. No, they covering welfare cheats. Here's a woman that has been cheating the welfare system and getting $500 a month in food stamps when she's secretly working and she's buying lobster with it. They're covering her, getting an illegal $500 a month, stealing a total of $6,000 a year from the federal government. Meanwhile, this other guy that's been telling the military that they need additional F-35 parts or something that are not even being used, taking 9-digit amounts from the military. You don't see that on Fox. They're not covering that. The big shit. The stuff that actually matters. So yeah, you're right. Tyrone is liable to fuck with you in your face, but you don't have to be accosted in person to get really mistreated. You don't have to be accosted like that. Anyway, looking in the comments, I would love to come on your show sometimes and have a conversation, a real one. Packy, you're welcome anytime. I may be on later tonight, and we'll be on Instagram where you actually can come on live. You can certainly speak to me, debate me, correct me, insult me. You know how we do it. We don't block, ban, or censor. So we'd love to have you on as well. Trump's buddy was Epstein. Enough said. Yeah, like I said, we actually give more credit and acknowledgement to crimes committed by people of color. Like, the medical industry. Think about how many doctors would overprescribe opioids. Think about how many people they killed. The guy who took out Lincoln Riley or the guy who stabbed a woman on the subway in South Carolina, tons of coverage. You realize how many people, how many people that those doctors killed? Way more people than that. Way more. There's all sorts of white collar crime. It just doesn't get the same attention as crime committed by black and brown people. Like I said, welfare fraud, SNAP fraud, that gets covered heavily by the right. That's in terms of stealing from people, stealing from U.S. taxpayers. That stuff is small potatoes. How much money do you think a welfare cheat is actually getting per year? You'd be lucky if you're defrauding the welfare department out of $1,000 a month. You'd be lucky to do that. These people are taking 6, 7, 8 figures and not getting the same coverage as a welfare cheat. It's a big, big difference. Big difference. So, yeah, your statistics show you are likely to be accosted by Tyrone or LaQuisha, whatever names you use, because you're only paying attention to the low-level type crimes. You're not paying attention to somebody that has been giving you a high interest rate when you qualify for a low one and pocketing a difference. Or, I mean, there's so many white-collar ways to cheat you and rob you out of shit that we just don't even give credence to very much. Fucking Tyrone, fucking Becky while Tanner is overseas. Steve Miller is a racist. What are your thoughts on it, Tim? You have to give me something to go on a little bit more than that. That's because Trump Jr. owns the Pentagon contract. Nepotism. Yeah, I guarantee you that President Trump, that Qatar jet, for instance, guarantee you there's some scams and schemes going on with that. I guarantee you that. The right believes that this guy is going to just leave that jet behind and go back to flying that old thing he had before becoming president. I guarantee you the goal of President Trump is to own and use that Qatar jet for the rest of his life. And I'll tell you one thing, MAGA would have no problem with it. The same MAGA right now that are ensuring you that he's not going to keep it, is going to go in the Smithsonian or is going to give it back to the government. If he keeps that shit, look, he was a great president to the United States. He protected our border. He got all the transgender out of sports. He earned it. Let him have it. That's what your mind. The minute he says he's gonna keep it, MAGA's gonna change their tune to he deserves it. The same people who are saying he's gonna give it up now are gonna be saying he deserves it when he tells you he's keeping that shit. Anyway, folks, I'm gonna go tune out to watch this speech. Trump's done. What is it? Something impeach in prison, get rid of this pile of shit. Trump is not done. Trump is going to ride off into the sunset, a rich old man. He's going to live to be an old age. The problem is the people around him are going to be the ones that are done. Bondi's never going to be able to practice law again. A lot of politicians are going to lose their careers. It's not Trump. It's the people that, just like in his first term, he did all right. It's the people that surround themselves that are the people that are helping him are the ones that don't have the same magic to escape stuff that are going to pay. But I think Trump will be fine. I think he'll be fine. Now, they may go after his family for some of that money and some of that shit. So did you see the DOJ redacted full pages? No, when I started live, a lot of the information was still coming out. But I did see on the screen behind me, I got News Nation playing. They showed a lot of the pictures with faces blocked off and sentences. Yeah, I seen a lot of it, but it was still being released when I came on live. Anyhow, folks, and I see the comments. Robert says, bye, losers. See you later, Robert Kennedy. Appreciate you in the comments. Affect our daughters' lives. Stupid replay. I don't know what you mean by that. Exactly my point. He's going to be fine, but everyone else will fall. Yep, I think everyone else that are around Trump is going to pay a heavy price. A lot of them. Insider trading, violation of international laws. I mean, some of them folks that are down off the coast of Venezuela might have their careers in the military, may end up getting either demoted or kicked out of the military or even worse. There's all kinds of financial scams going on, I believe. So, yeah, I absolutely believe many folks that are invested in Trump are going to pay heavy prices. But Trump, he'll be just fine. I'll catch you guys later. As always, it's your boy Tim the Handsome Liberal. I appreciate you tuning in this type of show where I did not have the ability to bring up callers. But next show, we'll certainly be able to do that. If you enjoy this type of dialogue uncensored, feel free to follow the program. We're on most weekdays. If you're currently watching us live on Instagram, Well, we're not on TikTok right now, but that's where we normally are. If you're currently watching us on one of those platforms, follow us. If you're watching us on YouTube, give your boy a sub. Tim, you realize in one sense when you compared all, you're writing on this. Merk Lewis's. You says, Tim, you realize in one sense when you compare all this due nature, it's crazy, but it's huge too. I don't know how to interpret that. I gotta go. I'll catch you guys later on.